All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. And yes, you did read that video title correctly. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you over 3.5 hours, yes, 3.5 hours of live behind the scenes coaching call recording content from inside my mastermind, the Remote Sales Academy. Now, that's a lot of call recording footage and you may not get through all of it, and that's totally okay. But I wanted to come and provide as much free value as I could to the YouTube channel, and so that you stay to the end and you actually listen to the stuff that I'm about to teach you and I'm about to show you, and you listen to all the critique, feedback, advice, and suggestions I'm about to give my clients through these live call recordings. Just know that what you're about to see is backed by nearly 6+ years experience in this industry. I've been doing this a long time, around 18, 19, I'm 24, turn 25 at the end of this year. And with our historical track record, we've taken over 50+ clients from 0 to 10K a month in high ticket sales with a member size community of just 300 clients over the last 2 years, with about 43 or 44 of them live here documented on the YouTube channel for you to watch and see for yourself. So I've been doing this a long time, and all the advice and suggestions I'm about to give my clients here is backed by real success and real results over a very long standing time and a very successful career in the industry. So hopefully you enjoy it, hopefully you find some value from it, and you really get to see a behind the scenes inside look to how I coach and the depth of detail and the feedback that I go through with my clients and why they get such great results. So I'm going to paste it in here. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and yeah.
Good group of guys. Good to see some fresh faces as well as returning. Um, no worries, easy Ryan. Um, Anybody have any questions that we want to run through before we jump into roleplay today? Come.
Yeah, hey man. So my first question is, how do you go about opening up in the pain of someone who's, let's say, has a good life already and he just wants more, for example? Like, will you try to find pain in that kind of person?
Usually it's not pain that you're going to get from those people in my experience. A lot of times you're going to find it's what it is and what they actually want.
Yeah.
So more in future pacing. So remember, I've probably given you a couple examples in the past of where it was Joel Elster inspired, where he used to deal with people who were investing like quite high amounts, like 100K plus, but just wanted to diversify their investment portfolio, like off the record, so on and so forth. Remember that stuff?
Yeah.
That's usually typically the way that I'd go about it.
Yeah.
Off the
And
record between you and me, like inspire me, like what is the real reason why you want to be diversifying your portfolio? Like why do you want that extra edge? Why do you want that extra stream of income? Like what's the point of diversifying it? Like what are you trying to achieve? Because from the sounds of things, you've got it all figured out. You're doing super well. Like what it like to share with me, like what's the real reason for doing this?
yeah.
And then probing and clarifying and chunking down from there because they'll give you like I'm looking to build out an investment portfolio for my kids, this, that, whatever thing, whatever. Then you can start chunking down and probing and clarify on that. But only at that point. There's other ways about going it and getting it, but I found that's a good way to kind of fly under the radar and actually get what you need.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. And that's also true, like with dry prospects in general as well. That's like a tool to use for them.
Yeah. Pause the recording. Between you and me, like off the record. Like I talk to a lot of investors like you. You're crushing it. You're just looking to add an extra stream of income. I really want to know like what is it that's actually inspiring you, man? Like what's really wanting you to drive to change? What's really driving you to actually do this? And
Yeah.
then once you get the chink in the armor because they've let down their guard because of the recording side of things and between you and me off the record, once you get that little bit of thing that they tell you, then you can start probing and clarifying and chunking down on that. It's like, oh, can you expand more on that? Why is that so important to you? How long have you felt that way? So on and so forth.
All right. And another question. is what are some possible objections that you can think for the discovery? Because I'm probably gonna like move to another offer and they probably need me for maybe a role play test or something. I'm not sure if that's gonna be even needed, but I know that the co-founder is giving a lot of objections and everything. So what are some objections you can think for the discovery that they could potentially give me?
At the end of the call or during the call?
Actually, during the call, like trying to play the hard prospect during the discovery and giving you objections, like during the discovery.
I think the only things I can kind of think of as far as like pre-handling goes would be uh number one, time. Yeah, what's the cost? Get to the point. Time. So whether or not they want to do this now. Yeah, why ask me these questions? I kind of get the difference there. So is what you're meaning what Lorenzo is pointing to there, or like certain things that actually come up like I've been scammed before, so on and so forth.
Oh, no, no. I actually what Rolando is saying, like, what's the
Oh
cost?
yeah.
Why are you asking me this? If
Yeah,
you,
okay. So based going off Lorenzo's there. So get to the point, what's the cost? Why are you asking me these questions? Um, do you actually do this program? Is a common one with B2C prospects.
yeah, true.
Um, do you actually do this yourself? Is one. Do you have any guarantees? What else? Hmm. Does anybody else have any other ones in the chat as well? So guarantees. Have you done this program before? Are you still doing this? Uh, yeah, what's the price? What's the cost? Those would be the main things. Competitor, I would say that would be rarely to come up in like a role play test interview, but it's possible. It's a good
Yeah,
suggestion. Those were probably the main things off the top of my head in terms of
yeah,
like being a difficult prospect, not actual
yeah,
objections.
yeah. Those are common ones. I'll also ask ChatGPT. Will probably give me a lot of ideas as well.
For
So
sure.
yeah, and also one objection that I wanted to hear, like your response to it, like in the end, like is there a refund? What's your response to that?
Every time on a sales call, I just say no.
You just say no?
Yeah, just wait. No. I'm like, oh, okay. And very rarely would they ask me why.
Hmm. Okay. And do you say something else or do you wait for them to just continue?
You can
It's
either
in the
say
objection handling.
you can either go two ways. You can just basically say no, we don't, and then just stare at them blankly and wait for them to cave. Or you can say no, we don't. Is there a reason why you asked that? So you can actually get down to the root cause of the problem. Because the reason they're asking guarantees, refund is that they don't trust that they're actually going to follow and do it
Yeah.
themselves. Either or, um, partially they don't trust that your system can actually provide them results and the outcome they're looking for. But usually it's self-belief and where that stems from.
Yep. True. Right. Absolutely. These were my questions.
Okay, great. Matteo.
I had one question about setting.
Yeah.
So I was curious to know what are the main types of setting jobs that there are in the space.
So there's DM setting, triaging, and outbound setting. So DM setting, I generally advise to avoid against. You can
Mhm.
find good roles, you can make good money doing it, but I've seen very few clients across the board actually do well with it. And I've found historically most companies don't have the infrastructure that is allowing you to actually make good money. So in terms of lead flow, in terms of content, in terms of brand, in terms of offer, there's a lot of logistics you have to have set up, personally, from what I've seen, for you to make good money in DM setting. Doesn't mean that you can't, but it's just my general 2 cents on things and just my personal experience. Also, in combination with that, you're not actually getting the phone experience that you want, and
Yeah.
you're not actually building up those skills of talking to people, which is kind of where
Yeah,
you're
of
at right
course.
now. You want to speak to as
Yeah.
many people as possible, as frequently. So appointment setting will give you that. Then you have appointment setting and triage, or outbound setting and triage, or phone setting and triage. Basically, they're two of the same things, two of the same activities. They're just done in slightly different approaches. So triage is inbound, uh, outbound or phone setting is on the phone, reaching out to people directly through CRMs, lead magnets of the sorts, and you'll be using already sourced leads who don't know they're being called. Whereas with a triage, they book in your calendar and they know they're being called. But the same premise still applies for triaging and phone setting. That makes sense. Just one's inbound and one's outbound.
Right. So the phone setting call happens before the triaging call, the triage call.
Yeah. So either there's a combination of both, so the combination of triage and outbound setting, or it's just one or the other. So there's a role where you have, 8 hours of 15-minute calls booked in your calendar, for example.
Mhm.
Or again, it can be a combination of both. You do half your day dialing, or half your day you speak to people who've already booked and speak to you. But the premise and the structure and the strategy you follow is completely the same as a triage as it would be an outbound setting call.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the answer.
No worries. Habib.
Hey, Connor. I guess this is more of a follow-up question to what we're discussing in DMs about those offers, the
Right.
B2B offer. So,
Mm.
in terms of sales calls, how do they usually go? Because I guess I have a bit of an assumption that, say, if it's a business and they've got some stakeholders that they need to discuss with, the decision before making that decision, is it quite common that the close rates for the sales calls are quite low? And is there like a process of whereby you don't just have one sales call, you might have a few before you actually do close the deal?
Yeah. So there are many different sales processes and modes depending on the client you're dealing with. So the one that we're talking about for your offer is B2B. So, and I didn't quite understand, as I mentioned in my Loom, like what the company actually does. So it can be somewhat complex to communicate that. So depending on how B2B it is, it could be a many call process, it could be a one call process, or it could be a two call process. Very, very large B2B, like enterprise level, like corporate type of SaaS deals, policies, things like that. It can involve 4 calls or 3 calls because there's multiple decision makers in a like corporate company, like again, like an enterprise. They're involved with making decisions around it. So there can usually be longer sales cycles. Whereas like with B2C, like you have one call and you're done. Or even with general B2B as well, you can also have 2 call closes where you have a triage before just to qualify and make sure they're a great fit. And then you book the call afterwards for it's basically just a two call close. So it just depends on the company, the situations, the type of prospects you're dealing with, the sales process, the marketing. A lot of things kind of factor into it.
Got you. Yeah, I think these are definitely things that I will be asking about during the interview.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sure that this is probably in the portal somewhere, but in terms of the script that I should follow, because I could see that it would be a bit more of a consultative type of approach because you're dealing with a business here. How much would the script vary in terms of like discovery and possibly objection handling as well?
So it will be less emotional, more logical. Obviously, with every sale, it's still emotional to some degree, but with B2B, it's less fluffy, emotional questions that you'd get in B2C. Like, for example, how would things be different in your life if you're able to actually make 10K a month, travel the world, and actually give back to the kids that you want in the way that you want to, and be the father that you want to be? That's very different. You wouldn't be asking like a B2B, executive that. You know what I mean? It'd be more along
Yeah.
the lines of it's just the same principles apply. It's just the verbiage has changed slightly. So if you're able to plug in this system where you can get the X, Y, and Z and solve X, Y, and Z problem, like how would things be maybe different or better in the business as opposed to how they currently are now in the next 6 months to a year? So the questions are a bit more logical, a little bit less fluffed up, and make sense for a B2B audience, if that makes sense.
Got you. Yeah, I see what you mean. I think because it's I've not really looked into B2B approach or offers, so I think I have quite a bit of research to do in comparison to B2C. But yeah, I'll hit up with any other questions I do have in the meantime.
Easy. Well, once you have the interview, just come back and relay, let me know. We'll start vetting the offer together.
For sure. Thanks, Connor.
No worries. Sammy.
Hey, Connor. Just a quick question about a type of offer. So, like government accredited certifications, which are like high ticket. Have you ever closed
Yep.
with one of those? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's great because you can lean into the fact that you're actually a legit institution, not just a high ticket company,
Cool. Okay.
which is great. So I was talking to, I think it was Michael on an onboarding call earlier. He's not here, but he's selling a similar offer to he's a competitor to an offer I used to sell, which was cybersecurity certification and placement into guaranteed jobs. So they charge 10K now, and the advantages of this, especially in Australia or other place in the world, is with an actually accredited institution and an actual legit education company where you get actual certifications that actually hold up with, well, they do actually make you get more chance of getting hired or actually qualify for your job as opposed to like high ticket sales of just like we're gonna give you a high ticket closing certification which means jack. But like, for cybersecurity, for example, if you're actually educating on like CSS plus and coding languages that actually give someone a career entry door, well, that's good because again, it's more tangible, it's more real. But I'd say that the main thing that is fantastic about that is the finance incentives that most governments offer to companies like that, or allow companies to partner up with the education company because they are a legitimate education institution. So, for example, when I used to sell that cybersecurity training, it was 5K. They now sell it for 10. And at the time, they got guaranteed job placement. They took a certain amount of time to finish the certification and course. Once they've finished it, they'd like get guaranteed placement of one of like the big companies and banks and things like that. The finance platform that we're partnered with, you didn't even have to have. Oh, no worries. See you, Zach. You didn't even have to have that crazy of a credit score. You didn't have to have that crazy of a great financial background. And they would approve most people because they know and understand that people applying to do these certs are like students, right? In not so great financial situations. So even with small income and usually bad credit scores, you could put people on 0 interest loans for like 6 months to 2 years if you wanted to. So they could pay like 10K over 2 years and it would be completely financed, 0% interest by like government incentivized companies. Because it's classified as like uni debt, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. And it's because like students are going to like what we call HEX debt in Australia, just like that. So it makes plenty of sense.
Yeah.
I'll be diving into that. Cool. Thank you.
No worries.
Um,
All right, guys. You have a
no
follow-up?
questions. I'd like to roleplay.
Okay. All right. Let's get a quick role play in. Who wants to be Sammy's prospect? Josh. All right. Josh, bet you to the punch, Lorenzo. We'll get you guys to go after. What do you want to practice, Sammy?
Objection handling.
All
Just any
right.
objection thrown at me.
For biz op ecom. Let's do that.
Yeah, just biz up.
Any
Yeah.
objection as well, Josh?
Just anything like curveball me. And I'm trying to get out of the habit of just reframe rambling and actually asking deep questions and getting them to think about it. Because I always fall back on my crutch of just like rambling at them.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. So, so Josh, to come in and join us, it's just 2,500 Aussie dollars.
Okay.
Cool. So I have your email here right in front of me. All right. What I'll do is I'll start onboarding you. I'll just send over the onboarding link and just handle those details for me while I do that in the background.
Do we do the payment on the call?
Yeah, well, you don't have to do anything, Josh. It's really up to you.
Okay.
But
I'd
I guess
rather not do it on the call today. Let's do it. Can we book in? Let's do a follow-up actually. Let's book it in
No
for a
worries,
few
Josh.
days from now. And we'll touch base, see where I'm at.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you could do it from a week from now, 2 months, 2 years from now. Doesn't really matter. I guess for yourself, Josh, from what we've covered today, like just investment aside for a second, do you feel like this is the right fit for you?
I feel like it is.
Okay. Right. And what is it about our 4 steps specifically that makes you feel like this is the right fit?
The 4 steps, the A to Z guide, the roadmap, how to go from not having a seller account to scaling up. Yeah, I think
Hell
it
yeah, man.
can. I think it could possibly get me there.
Okay. All right. And for yourself, just like, why do you actually want to do this?
I think like I want to go to like the Maldives. I think I'd love to travel.
Okay. And I'd love to help you get there. So is it the fact that you have the investment, maybe just a bit nervous or skeptical to spend, or you actually don't have it at all?
No, I have the 2,700. Like I have it. It's
Cool.
just like I think about these things, and it's like it's how I've always done, how I always operate. I don't make rash decisions.
Mm, yeah. Is it really a rash decision though?
It could be.
Yeah. How so? Like, help me understand.
I don't know. Is there like, do you guys do refunds? Like,
No, we don't do refunds. We do have our guarantees, which I'm more than happy to go over. But for yourself specifically, Josh, I do want to understand, like, what's actually coming up for you that makes you want to, put off the decision?
yeah, I mean, nothing particular. It all sounds great, Sam. I just want to like think about it and really like null over it for a second, like roll over with it, sleep on it.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned earlier that this is how you've always made decisions. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
think it's got me to like where I'm at in life, which is not terrible. So,
Yeah.
um,
Of course, because we all make decisions based on our perspective, right?
yeah, we do.
And would you agree that all the decisions you've made up until this point have actually led you to where you are?
Yeah, you're making a good point.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if I make a good point or not. It's whether or not you actually understand the fact that after
No, I
everything we
understand.
covered today, Josh, do you actually feel like you're satisfied with where you are right now in terms of your career and how much you're making?
No, definitely not.
Okay. Well, I guess if there was a way to make decisions in a way to help you get to your incomes of being, XYZ father and being able to actually be that leader, that business person that you want to be, would you be open to making decisions in a different way?
Maybe.
Maybe?
I'm not sure. Like, depends. Like, what do you mean? How do you
What
mean?
would depend on, Josh? Because at the end of the day, right, you did book in this call with us to look for our help so then you can actually achieve XYZ. So I
Yeah, I
know
know.
that you mentioned that you're not actually satisfied with where you are. Are you willing to actually make a couple changes if it means that it can help you get to your goals of being that father, that leader that you've always wanted to be?
Yeah, I am. I am.
Cool.
But I still will
So
need to think about it.
yeah, no, 100%. And this way of always thinking about it, wanting to mull it over, weigh up the pros and cons, because of course, at the end of the day, it is a bit of a scary decision, right? Especially when it's dictating your career trajectory. Where do you think that way of thinking has actually led you?
I don't know.
Well, it's where you are right now. And are you happy with where you are right now?
Yeah, like I said, not really.
Okay. And if you continue with that way of thinking, where are you going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now?
No, I'm not gonna let I'm gonna be like whether it's with this, whether it's with whatever,
Are you sure, Josh?
I'm
Because
gonna
it has
be
already been 10 years. So be real with me.
sorry.
It
Yeah, no,
already has
I'm
been
being
3 years.
I'm not
Because
happy right
whereas
now,
this
but
might
like
seem like
I'm
a
here.
1 hour decision, this has been going on for 10 years, Josh. So
Yeah.
be real with me,
And
man. Like if this continues on for the next 5 years and you don't actually change the way that you make decisions, the same one that's actually led you to this point today, where are you going to be in another 5 years, man?
I'm not sure. Like the reason why I am on this course because I'm committed. Um and I'm not gonna be in like I'm gonna make it in 5 years. 5 years is plenty of time.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you said that 5 years ago, didn't you? But instead, you're here on this call because if you did actually commit to it 5 years ago, like you said you were going to be, we wouldn't be on this call together, Josh. So I guess becoming that person, going from being that employee to actually a business owner, what kind of decisions do you feel like you need to actually make to be able to get to that point and not just stay stuck where you are?
I
And
guess
I'll
I
give you
just
a
gotta
tip.
take like a
It's
business
not.
owner mindset. I don't know. I've never been a business owner myself.
Exactly. And to go from being an employee to a business owner, it takes a couple different changes, Josh.
Yeah.
For the Josh who has actually achieved, his XYZ goals, he's able to be that business owner, that father, that leader. How would he view these kind of decisions?
He'd easy, slice a cake.
Slice of cake?
Yeah, slice a cake.
I'm not familiar with that saying. What does that actually mean?
Easy peasy, mate.
Okay, all right, gotcha. So to be able to achieve the goals of that person, right, that Josh in 5 years' time who can do all those amazing things like travel, right, what would he do in this situation?
I guess he might do it. I'm not sure.
He
Okay.
might,
Let's hit pause there. How do you
yeah.
feel at this point in time where you're at? Like, how do
Mhm.
you feel you're going?
Myself,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm beating a dead horse over and over.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know why that feels that way?
Is it because I'm not increasing intensity with every loop?
I would say from my perspective, and I'd love to hear Josh's as a second of how he felt as a prospect. But the reason why it felt like you were kind of kicking and beating a dead horse is one, the like overarching structure was not super tight. You know where you're going, but it's kind of like janky put together here, 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 here. And it's
Mm,
like it's not super structured to the point where it's just like clean, this, done. You know exactly what to do, where to pull things out. You're kind of it still feels like you are pulling things out from where you need to, like just wherever else. And then I
mm,
also noticed as well as the objection handling progressed, it didn't feel like it was becoming more elevated and more intense. It felt more frustrated and more passive aggressive.
mm,
That's what I felt personally, and my general read on that is it felt less intensity, but more passive aggressive, as we all get, because it can feel like when, we've reframed them all these amount of times. I know they need to do it, so on and so forth. It can be very frustrating, but your prospect is going to see that and feel it, because if I can see that, they're most likely going to hear that and feel that as well subconsciously. So I think my read on it is the tone change didn't feel very calibrated. It felt frustrated, which I understand, but it felt that's where it kind of like ended up spiraling off into nowhere, and Josh kind of giving you these stonewall answers, because that's typically what a prospect will do, and they will shut down when you give them that type of approach. When you sound frustrated or slightly annoyed, even if it's just the smallest amount, they'll pick up on it subconsciously, even if they don't register it consciously. And what they'll do is they'll stonewall you, just exactly like Josh did. They'll start giving you one-word answers. They'll start saying maybe or not too sure, because they're kind of just sitting there letting your words hit them in the face, because they've just completely shut down and shut you off. That makes sense?
That makes plenty of sense. Yeah.
Josh, was that how you felt, or am I misinterpreting it just incorrectly?
No, that's right. I feel like we were going in a bit of circles at the end. Bit of weak language at the start that you didn't really pick up on. That's the main feedback. Maybe intensify the loops every time. But what Connor said, completely right.
I think also addition with intensity, it doesn't necessarily have to come with only your tone, but it can come also from your words, right? So obviously the way that I learned how to objection handling off one of my mentors, Matt, was the whole looping exercise. It's obviously taken from Jordan Belfort as well, which is the commitment question at the end of each reframe. That is meant to be slightly more intense, and the analogy is meant to be slightly more intense, not just like certain parts of a question or certain things you've pulled across. Let me just hang on 1 second. So yeah, that is what you want to work on in terms of just overall intensity, not aggression or frustration or any of these other type of things. Yeah, they'll be there in a minute. Sorry about that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I want to finish on that point. It's just the fact that it feels like you know that you're using stuff, but it doesn't feel like you're using it correctly.
Yeah. No, that
Very similar
makes,
feedback to last time.
yeah. Definitely. I think instead of like a pendulum, I swung way too far in like the end of being really challenging and asking the hard questions without actual real structure, as opposed to like
Yeah.
my happy slappy frame that I used to take. So I need
For
to find
sure.
that middle ground and then just have a focus structure on it. Yeah, makes plenty
And
sense.
it takes time to find a happy medium. It takes time. Because yeah, at the end of that there, what I would say is it felt somewhat passive aggressive. You booked in this call with me. Like I feel like a prospect is kind of gonna get a little bit pissed off at that personally. And just very slappy, like slappy just out of nowhere. It was kind of like soft, friendly, like, come on, man, to like what you told me earlier that you would do this and blah blah blah. That's kind of like what the contrast felt. So it's like it's the same as like yeah, just hot and cold. Like that's kind of what it feels like. You're just like I'm not even gonna try and that's not even an analogy, but yeah, that's just very much how it felt like. It just went from one extreme to the other, which is what I think could be big feedback there. Which again, these are just the advanced stuff with objection handling. It just takes time naturally. That would be my overarching feedback, but there's other things that I would like to pick through as well. I think when you asked and a tie down towards a solution of like, is this a right fit? Better direction as opposed to last time, because last time I can't remember the exact thing that you asked, but it wasn't as results focused. The whole idea is the fact that they believe that ultimately this can get them to where they want to go. So if you want to tighten up that language a bit better, is like why do you feel that this specifically can get you to 10K a month though? So like particularly around the result with specificity. That's just something I would add there. Good isolating money and cycling that through. He basically gave you a alley-oop with the verbiage he was using. Personally, I would say, I don't make rash decisions. This is usually how I make decisions. Super easy just to go, yeah, it makes sense, man, because we all make decisions based off our current perspective, right? Right. Okay. And based off what we talked about, right? To be fully transparent with me, if we were to put yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 with where you feel like in progression you are and how happy you are with the results in regards to X, Y, and Z, where would you put yourself on a scale from 1 to 10? Now, don't say a 6 or a 7, because most people say that, right? Just kind of as the happy medium. Like, where would you really honestly place yourself on that scale in terms of your satisfaction of where you're at in regards to X, Y, and Z? I like a 4. Okay. And do you want the same decision-making process that led you get to a 4 to dictate your results moving forward? Oh, no, I don't. So this, like, when you have that structure laid out and it's more like bang, 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 it's much more harder for them to squirm and wiggle out of it when you're asking very binary, boxed in, black and white questions, yes or no. That is to me, that's the whole goal of objection handling. You're boxing a prospect in, you're asking them binary, logical, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. Not to make them feel stupid, but to give them very little wiggle room to actually get out. Not in a way that you're pressuring them, but in a way it's very hard to say no. And that's what sales is about at the end of the day. It's not about, we can't force them to say yes, but we can make it very difficult to say no. And that's the whole intention of it. So that's why I say, like, anytime a prospect says, I don't make rash decisions, this is usually how I make decisions. Every time that's a layup to just, oh, well, that makes sense, because we all make decisions based on our current perspective, right? I'm asking that question so fluidly after he asked that because I know there's no way that he can say no, because that would be illogical, right? Oh, that makes sense because we all make decisions off, based on our current perspective, right? Right. I agree with that. So I'm just edging in again and again and again and again. I'm just like bit by bit by bit, a bit, just kind of claw them into the ground with each question. Where would you place yourself from 1 to 10? Oh, well, probably like a 4. Okay, well, do you want the decision-making process and the mindset that lets you get here to dictate your results moving forward? Well, probably not. See how each question is so perfectly placed that it's like, it's so difficult to say no. It's possible to say no, but it's difficult to say no. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. It connected the dot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So find a happy medium where the reframes that you're using is still effective, but simple enough for you to understand, to where you place one question after another, where it's illogical for the prospect to say no, but also to understand a different perspective.
Yeah.
When he asked, do you provide a refund? You said no. I can't. And then I think you made the decision, which is also a decent choice, decent route, of deflecting and then moving on. That was fine. But in that case and scenario, I probably would have asked, no, we don't. Is there a reason you asked? Or no, we don't. Like, what's behind that? Because what's the real objection? The real objection is the fact that he doesn't trust that you can get him to the desired result and outcome, or he doesn't trust in himself that you can actually follow the process and actually get the result and desired outcome. Because what actually the root cause of the problem is, the actual reason he's concerned, he wants to think about it, is because it's whatever is behind that. That question, can I get a refund, or do you do refunds, or what's your guarantee, The real concern is rooted below that, if that makes sense. And so this is why I really strongly believe, to communicate to you guys, understand objection handling, that objection handling is just a brilliant understanding of language and addressing the root cause of the concern. But most salespeople deal with very surface level information, use reframes, objection handling, all this type of stuff. It's all great, but if we can't get to what the root cause of the issue is, we can't solve the actual problem. Is everyone getting that? Right? So this is the root cause of what we're doing when it comes to objection handling. It's like, what is behind it? Clarify, probe, and get to the actual meat of it. Think about it, means nothing. Talk to my partner, means nothing. It's quite expensive, means nothing, right? I want to look over my finances, means nothing. A lot of these things don't make any sense. So if we take them at surface level, we're going to be handling the wrong thing anyway. So the whole objective, in my mind, handle logistics first, cycle off money always before we move anywhere else. And then we find out what is the actual root cause of the issue. The reason why I like of booking a call and then saying, hey, before we go, what was it you wanted to run over in your mind, is because the principle of what we're trying to do there is actually get to the root cause of the issue. Because again, we understand the psychology behind this of why someone doesn't tell you the root cause of the issue is why, because they don't want to offend you. The same thing as you ask for a woman's number on the street, right? And there could be a multiple of reasons why they reject you. It could be your height, the way that you look, your approach, whatever it is. She could have had a bad experience in the past where someone approached her really weird and now she's uncomfortable with that interaction altogether. But she could have just said, hey, sorry, I'm actually going to, meet with my friends, or I don't give out my number. These are objections. Same thing as sales. It's not the actual root cause of the issue, but what we're ultimately going for is what is behind the surface thing they're actually giving you. Is everyone following? So this is objection handling 101. If 101, if you want to strip everything back, this is really what we're doing. You can learn every reframe under the sun, but if you don't understand the process behind why you're doing it, then it's not going to really take you anywhere. Again, it's gotten me to where I'm at in life, which is not terrible. So he's basically downplaying his situation, which is why if we had the reframe structure before of the scale 1 to 10, we preface it with the fact, don't put a 6 or a 7 because everyone says that. Really, like, how do you actually feel in terms of progression? Because he's downplaying the situation, but it's not true, right? Based off the previous discovery call. Yeah, like, do you want your life to not be terrible or great, right? Good question, but I'd also put them logically on a scale of 1 to 10 as to why, like, where do you actually put yourself? Because then again, the same principle applies here of trying to twist them up and twist their words. Not twist their words, but with ethics, put them in a position where it's hard to say no because you know what it is you're selling is the best solution for them. And as well, the only other thing as well I wanted to observe is that you did a good deflection of, it doesn't matter if I'm right or not, but what you need to do is right after that is say, what do you think though? There's good parts to it. And for guys that don't understand the psychology behind that, have you ever said before to someone when they're trying to convince you of a point or tell you of something and you go, yeah, you're right, but internally you don't actually believe that, you're just saying that so they actually stop talking? Same principle applies here if you're not up to date with how that works. I've mentioned a couple of times before, but guys that are new, that's how that works. It's very much of, if a prospect says, yeah, you're right, you have to say, well, maybe I'm not. What do you think? So it's always projecting it back onto them because it's deferring responsibility and it's deferring accountability. And it's just basically a smokescreen for them actually telling themselves that they agree with your point as opposed to just kind of stonewall you there. So just to add to that, ask them the question, deflect it back, not just make a statement of like, it doesn't matter if I'm right or not. It's, Doesn't matter if I'm right or not. Or you could say, well, I could be, right? With a smile on your face. Well, I could be. I don't know. What do you think? And just deflect it straight back to them. Same thing with you do with objections as a whole, right? Oh, do you have a guarantee? Do you provide results? That's projecting responsibility, right? They know that if we have results on our page, it's a matter of fact of whether or not they can do the work or not. It's not a matter of fact if we can provide the results for them. They know it's a done with you program. They know they have to do the things that drive the engine themselves, yet they're asking questions that are projecting responsibility in a very, very weird way. Make sense? Any
Makes
follow-up
sense.
questions from that?
No follow-up questions. It makes a lot of sense because in my objection handling, I always have them like squirm and they like say other things and like they move out of the actual frame. It just comes down to me not being tight with the actual process and having those binary questions. So makes plenty of sense.
Of course. And it just naturally will come with time and experience. Like when you've said something hundreds and thousands of times, it just becomes a natural thing for you. That's all.
So yeah, thank you.
No worries. Lorenzo?
You said that in this scenario, in terms of the objection handling, you'd ask what's behind you asking for a refund. Usually and typically in my head, you'd always ask that. However, when would you not ask it? Would it be when it's like, I don't know, when would you not ask if what's behind in terms of them asking for a refund?
I guess it's just different ways of going about it. So in my eyes, again, sales has hundreds of different approaches as to why it's such a infinite game that you can get better at. So say there's one or two ways you can go about it. You can ask, no worries, Frank. If they ask for like, do you guys do refunds? Again, the psychology behind saying no and not reacting, not being super skittish, not being nervous when they ask that question is to instill confidence in your product and what you do brings results. So why would you even be nervous or frantic when someone asks you that question? Like the psychology, like, no, we don't. You can leave it there if you want to. Or I think just what could be better upon that. I don't think there's a situation that would call for that, but I think an addition on top of the question could be what's behind that, or why did you, I'm curious what's coming up for you that made you ask that. That's just more an effective way of bouncing off that as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
No worries. All right, guys, that was a lot. Definitely a big mouthful. I have to go to an onboarding call now with Mateo. But yeah, guys, hopefully today's session was good. Did you learn some things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Hopefully it was helpful. Apologize for being late. And yeah, I will see the rest of you guys on Thursday.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Connor.
Bye.
See you guys. Sammy, what's some updates from you? Said yeah, bit of a start to the month. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I joined the ecom offer. I actually crushed the first couple of weeks I was in. I did 2.8K in comms in 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks I joined the offer. I
Nice.
was pretty proud of that. And I was closing like 2 to 3 deals every single day. And then the last 2 days just hit like a truck, right? 0 closes. And then like I'm doubting my process. Kashi is telling me to like calm the fuck down, don't overthink it. But the last thing I want is to like have this turn into a dry spell. And I'm trying so hard not to make it into one.
Okay.
But
Let
then it's like a
me
negative feedback loop.
let me stop you there. It's important that we handle this before we go into role play. So you've had 2 bad days, is that correct?
Yeah, awful days.
Where you've closed no sales, basically. Okay. How many calls?
I had probably a total of 9 calls over the last 2 days.
Okay. And what does your stats look like over the previous 10 calls? Do you know?
Over the previous 10 calls? What do you mean by stats?
Before the last 9 calls, like how many did you close out of the last 10 before that?
Yeah, so I have a data tracker. I was sitting at 55% close rate.
Mhm.
And then if you include the last 2 days, it goes all the way down to like 30.
Right. But where's the KPI for closing for the offer? Like, what do they want you to be?
No real KPI. They're just like do as well as you can.
Okay.
Yeah, for myself, I have the goal of 10K a month, so I need a PIF and a payment plan a day to be able to hit that.
Okay. So here's the first thing that happens. You know, Kashi can probably give you some good insight because I had a very strong word with him when he was doing 10K a month, and it was a similar and same story. 1 or 2 bad days means nothing. A bad week means nothing, right? 2 weeks, okay, concern, but a day or two means zilch. Doesn't matter if you went 0 for 9. Couldn't care less, right? Who knows? You could close the next 10 for anyone knows, right? That could entirely possibly happen. But the problem is, if you have the mindset that those 2 bad days are going to create a dry spell, they will. And the moment you start hesitating and you start justifying and you start stopping, you're going to make changes to your process unconsciously and consciously. And that is what's actually going to create the dry spell because you're basically trying to make sales with an unproven sales process because you're changing it unconsciously and consciously itself. You're changing questions, you're changing words, you're changing tones, you're changing pauses, you're changing phases, you're changing things where they don't need to be changed. Full stop. Literally just do what you're doing before because that's what was working. It will even out just fine. Doesn't matter if it's a 1 or 2 bad days, like just keep doing the same stuff. The main thing you want to develop is a very good trust in your own process. That's it. I very much think, for example, like I've told a story before where there was a time where some lady just got so upset and annoyed with my line of questioning at Consequence that she just left the call and didn't even let me pitch her. Now, I could have gone and had my mindset thrown for a couple of days of like, was it my process? Was it me? I literally didn't care. I was like, oh, that was weird. And then the next day unfolded. Like that was very much the way that I think about my process because I'm very confident in it. If what you're doing is working before, it's going to still continue to work. So don't change anything. Just mentally tomorrow, just reset, forget the last 2 days. They didn't happen. They don't exist. Just keep moving forwards and just doing the same stuff you're already doing. That's as simple as the fix is going to be.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm gonna try my best to internalize that because hearing it sounds really good. I need to internalize it and I need to make it a reality so that it doesn't actually affect me.
Make make data driven decisions, not emotion based ones. Sales is very emotional, very emotional. You can have a great month and you can have a terrible month, right? If what you've been doing has worked and you were making good money before, it's likely if you just keep doing the same stuff, you're going to keep making money. Otherwise, it's another variable that's changed outside of you, which is marketing and so on and so forth. Like there was a time when I was saying BizOp that for pretty much a half a year I was closing consistently. It was initially 40% and then it was 60% consistently. I didn't care if I didn't close 6 hours or 6 calls in a row. Didn't matter to me. So I just knew that the law of averages, based off my process, if I look at the data, it's going to straighten out by end of the month. Or if a bad month happens, the next month is going to go back to the average baseline I was already at. So again, make decisions off of data and not emotionally driven ones.
Yeah, no, that's solid. Thank you.
No worries. Josh, in addition or a question?
In addition, you said that it went from 30 to 60 or was it 40 to 60? What actually changed? Did you just get better? You understood the process a bit more?
I just got better. So it went from 40 to 60. So no changes in marketing. I just got better. And then once Like 40% was my firm baseline for the first like 6 months or so, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but that was the average. And then after I was getting really good and I got really good at biz op selling, 60% was like a firm average close rate for the offer.
Okay, I'll just
But
double check.
of course, the thing is with that as well that a lot of you guys should be aware of, don't stick to like a close rate and go, oh, I should be closing at 60% or 80% or whatever it is. It's very dependent on the offer. Very dependent on the offer. Like someone could be making 25% close rate and they'll be making more money than someone's closing at 70%. It's just such a vanity metric. I think someone said in the space recently that cash collected per call and revenue per call is more of an effective metric than close rate. I don't know. I mean, that's a food for thought. But just in general, I wouldn't compare and contrast close rates because I don't think it's actually as effective as you think it is. It's not a very good contrast. An offer can have a very different level of marketing as compared to, another. One could be a cold traffic VSL, one could be BizOp, one could be lead generation for fitness coaches, one could be dating coaching. They're going to be very different. Some offers have finance, some offers don't. Some offers are better than others. Some have, obviously, all of them have different markets, different avatars, different offers, different price points. So if you're ever looking at close rate as like a metric that you can be measuring and contrasting, I would strongly advise that you don't, because it's not going to help you. Cool. Any questions before we dive into role play?
Yeah, I have a question. The calls in the sales vault, are those the ones when you were closing like a 60% rate? I know that it's not like a metric to go by, but like were those some of the ones?
Some of them were the more like earlier ones when I
Yeah.
first started like learning through other mentors.
Mm.
That was when I was closing at 40%. Some of them were
Okay.
at 60%.
Yeah.
You'll see a pretty clear difference between the two, like
Yep.
especially the BizOp ones.
Yep.
The ones at 40%, it's not as firm as a process, and I'm not as
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. There's a very clear difference when you look at them side by side.
Yeah.
For the business coaching one, I don't know what I was
Mm.
closing at, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Mm.
Um,
Which
yeah.
one would you say is the best one? Like I could just go like review and just like watch and learn from. Or like
As a demonstration of skill, I would
yeah.
probably say it's like one of the top ones. The
Yeah.
guy who works overnight work or graveyard shift,
Yeah.
BizOp,
Okay.
5K one.
Yeah.
That one's really good. It's got a breakdown inside the portal of it.
Yeah.
Those two ones were pretty good demonstrations. Like if you want like a textbook
Mm.
how you should do this, then that's probably going to be the best call you should follow.
Okay. Awesome. Could I literally like just copy the framework and just use it in mine or
Yeah, well, I
like
mean, you're selling BizOp, aren't you?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, Bizon. Yep.
I mean, you could sell. It's quite similar to your sales process and marketing process. The
Yep.
only thing that you would change is you do
Just
your own triages, and
yeah.
so you
Go.
just separate the first 2, 3 phases into a triage, and then when you get the sales call, you recap the triage, and then you just follow the exact same process, like
Mm.
word for word, verbatim, in the future pacing,
Yep.
customer stage presentation.
Okay. Awesome. And when it comes to like, I was thinking about like flashcards. Is that like, did you do flashcards or is that just like a waste of time?
I did actually.
Okay.
I remember using it way back when.
Yep.
Flashcards are good.
Yep.
I used to print out scripts and like pace back and forth in my house, just reading
Yep.
them. As well as listening to other people's sales calls, pausing it, rewinding it, hearing how they
Mm.
said it, tonality,
Mhm.
pauses, cadence, as well as my own sales calls, recording myself, listening to it back, and just
Mm.
practicing that way.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
No worries. Marvin?
Yeah, I had a question about one of the recordings. So basically you're in pain, he gave you some stuff, and then you were already in kind of in between what they've tried and also ideal criteria. And he gave you like something else. And then you kind of did like a whole how long, what impact and everything again. So is it kind of if they give you something new, you kind of run that like pain sequence again? Because he gave it to you in a completely different section and it was like a new thing. So like how do you go about that?
So the prospect in this situation gave me like what they're ideally looking for a solution.
No, so let's say I think in the first part he's just like he doesn't like his job, everything sucks, da 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 da. Okay, you did all the thing. And then you were already in what else have you tried kind of going into ideal criteria. And then he hit you with like, oh, and procrastination. And then you're like, oh. And then you did kind of the whole thing again, like, oh, okay, dove into it. How long? What kind of impact? So is it like if they give you something new, you kind of just run a little bit of a shorter version of pain again?
So if I'm interpreting that correctly, in that call, the guy talked about procrastination pretty early, talked about that was an issue. And he talked about like future pacing, desired state, like that type of area. In the context, did I expand on the pain? Or
So
did I
the thing that confused me is, and I know obviously you have some flexibility. I just want to know your thought process because we had already like done the pain section.
Yeah.
And then we were already in like the future section. And then you kind of did another of like, oh, how long, what impact, and like that sequence, which to my understanding is like from the previous section. So I kind of just want to understand like kind of what was your thought process there, I guess.
Let's just take a quick look at it and just bear with me for the role play guys. I just really want to make sure that I give a correct response here. Because I know exactly what you're talking about, but I want to get
that's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Automation, part of business works, and there's a lot of tools out there, but I just didn't have the money to spend on it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so having all those tools and strategies in place is quite important to you. Now, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
How long have you felt like this procrastination's been going on? I guess like the analysis paralysis and things like that.
The procrastination hasn't been too long. What we said is I finished a few courses and I'm still paying some of it off. So we were busy saving money for a house, and my wife didn't want me to use the money.
Yeah.
But she's changed the job, and now building the house has fallen through. So I've got money in the bank.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not fallen through, but it's been put on hold for 6 months until she's got experience.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question anyway.
For sure. I guess maybe I can kind of rephrase it, right? So you mentioned that procrastination and like analysis paralysis has been trouble for you in the past, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with what you're doing, like how long have you kind of felt that way about, procrastination being like a blockage, do you think?
So I think I'm starting to get to what you're pointing at. So the reason I asked that in particular this case is because this is kind of going through the suggestion framework that I teach. So analysis paralysis or paralysis by analysis or procrastination is a limiting mindset. So if we don't handle it here, it's going to come up as a concern or objection at the end of the call, right?
Okay.
So the process typically for those limiting concerns and those limiting beliefs and limiting mindsets perspectives are identify what the limiting concern belief is initially firsthand. So that could be I've been burned before, so I don't want to invest in anybody, other coaches, whatever. I think that everything's a scam. I think that nothing works, right? BizOp, non-BizOp, I think that nothing works. Or 3, for example, like you said, procrastination, paralysis by analysis. Like that's the process he's kind of been sitting in, right? That's the thing that I've identified. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to stretch it out. I'm going to go, well, how long have you felt that way for? Or how long has that been going on? And how long have you been thinking that way? The reason why is just as we would probe and clarify and expand on a problem, i.e., for example, I want to make more money, have more time, have more freedom. I want to generate more leads to the business, whatever that may be. As you're already familiar with in the pain stage, we pull that out by going, well, how long have you felt that way? Why is that so important to you now? And the impact of it. Here, it's how long have you felt that way, or how long have you thought that way about approaching solving this problem? And then it's, can I make a suggestion? Then you make the suggestion of the reframe you want them to adopt and have. Then it's, do you want to change that? And then why now? So the only thing that's the same from the pain section, personally, is just the how long, because the how long actually creates the problem itself. Because if it's like, how long have you felt that way? Oh, the last week. It's not really a problem that we need to solve. Or, if it's 3 years, it's like, okay, well, that's a very big problem. And it's not only myself that realizes that, it's also the prospect that they're verbalizing that to you when you ask, how long have you had that mindset, or how long have you thought that way for? Make sense?
Yes. So I guess what threw me off is just like hearing that how long question. But basically what you're saying is at the end of the day, we're just like probing and making everything more tangible. So the pre-handle actually has some power, right? And we just nip it in the
Correct.
right then and there.
Correct. The same as like, oh, I usually get stuck in analysis paralysis. If you just say, well, can I make a suggestion? It's not as hard hitting as,
Yeah.
well, how long have you actually thought that way for? How long have you been approaching this side of your business this way? Oh, for the past 2 years. For example, oh, look, I just really haven't had the time to really focus on building this side of the business so we can grow. Well, how long have you done that for? Oh, the past 2 years. Suggestion. Do you see how not spending the time that's required on this side of the business and that mindset itself in not getting the help that you need has actually limited your growth and not enable you to grow the business in the way that you've wanted to grow it? So we start reframing that earlier on instead of just getting hit in the face with that at the end of a call. We start plucking it out during the middle.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm guessing that plus, because you're doing at the beginning of this call a lot of the like employee entrepreneur like identity thing. That makes sense. Yeah, so it's like the little things in the process. So the objection handling is just way more powerful.
100%. Yeah.
Makes total sense, man.
Not always the objection handling that's the priority. It's about what we do before we get the objections in the first place.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that. And one little thing, so I was kind of going through the advanced sales thing. Is there like some modules you haven't uploaded or something like that?
Yeah, plenty.
Okay, all right.
There's lots of modules to be done.
Okay, excellent.
Some might make it in the final version of it, but I just wanted to release something that gets you guys some grounding. If you're on an offer and you want to make more money, then you can use the perform module to do the majority of the work.
Yeah, I just thought like some of the stuff in the titles looked really interesting, and then I clicked on it. I was like, oh, thank you.
You got baited. Yeah, no, they're just like the general. Yeah, they're just the general layout for like what may or may not make it into the final version eventually.
All right, sounds good.
Cool.
Hey,
Great.
Connor, what if they like obviously you pre-handle the whole objection, but what if they bring it back and they're like, oh, like yeah, like do you get them to recommit or like if that makes sense?
If someone says they regularly procrastinate and they're very, very often in the analysis paralysis zone, and we've already said, can you see why it's a problem? They've told me why they want to change it, and they've told me why now. If they bring it up at the end of the call, which is entirely possible, by the way, definitely still happens. Then you kind of shine a mirror to what you've already explored together previously. Like, do you remember when we spoke about the analysis paralysis thing a little bit earlier? Can you see how it's coming up now? And it's very much just like you've already spoken about it, you've already addressed it, you've already put it on the table, and they've already told you they want to change it. So it's going against their very fiber of being in terms of consistency as a human being, basically. Or congruent between what they say and what they do. No worries, AJ. Well done on your big day, bro. Have a good rest.
Thanks.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Beautiful. Marvin.
Yeah, it's not so like sales. It's just something I've been thinking about. So I'm on a trading offer, right? And the like fulfillment is amazing. Like everybody's making money, and I have access to all the stuff they do, right? So now I have like this little voice where it's like, oh, maybe I can just kind of learn some trading also while I'm doing this. So I think obviously I already know what the answer or kind of your advice on that is, but maybe you can just break it down again. Because I know like I should be focusing on this, but then like there's this other thing, and I have access to this like amazing course that is the best fulfillment and blah 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 blah. And now I kind of catch myself a little bit almost like splitting my focus when I know it's not what I should be doing, but just if you have a couple of words on that.
My overarching mindset is, well, you know what my answer is going to be initially, so I'll give you something alternatively different, which is that my overarching mindset would be the same to you as everyone here who's even just getting started or you've been in the space for a while, which is that the number one killer of success is shiny object syndrome, because it's always a little voice, behind your mind of like, well, this looks so much easier. But, obviously Alex Mosey brought up a very good mind map of like optimism, pessimize, optimism, whatever it is, that cycle process. That's the same thing that you see. It always looks much more easy than it actually is. And then when you get in, you realize it's not as easy as it's kind of touted about. Even you just hear the good stuff. You always just hear the good stuff. It's never the bad, especially when you're exploring something that seems more attractive. You filter the good from the bad. You never hear about the bad. You're really just looking for the good. So that's what you're going to find. So that's one thing, as well as my personal opinion is that high ticket sales is the best place to start to really just to start cash flow. It's not the end game. It's not the be all end all, but it's the best place to start cash flow. And you could do that in the short term to long term if that's something that you're really considering, maybe like 6 months to a year or something. But like to the point where you've stacked some cash in your account, you're at a point where you can be good as far as like you have some run room to be a trader. Maybe you want to do that for sure. You can always return a high ticket sales at some point. But personally, learning that sales is a skill really well. You're at the setting point. Getting to sales would be ideal before doing that, because once you learn those two skills and how to get good offers, you can go try trading, you can go try SMMA, you can do all these things with newfound skill sets, way more cash flow than you had before stacked, way less risk, and you can always come back to sales regardless of if it fails. That's just my general withstanding argument for anyone looking at anything different. 6 months to a year, 1 to 2 years, set yourself up from skills, cash flow, and redundancy plan, and you can always go back to what you need to do, regardless of whether or not you can violently fail starting a new business, and it's fine. You can just come back and make 10K a month minimum. Like, it's not that bad. That would be my ultimate argument for the position that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's kind of what I was looking. Like I know what the right answer is, right? But it's like I see it like every day in the win channel. Like, damn, I wonder if like wanting to do everything basically, right? Because I really like just from what I like skills and kind of the psychology and all that. I like it a lot more. It's just kind of, yeah, I guess just seeing this other thing, which is also making people a lot of money, and I'm like, shit. But yeah, just kind of wanted to hear from you, to be honest.
Personally, yeah, like you can make a lot of money with trading. You make a lot of money with any business model. But as you would know, from the startup period, from when you started high ticket sales to now, like
Yeah.
that period is the same for trading and for any other business model. But the only thing that you can massively benefit going from sales, anything else, is the cash that you now have behind you and the skills, and maybe even the people that you know, right? It's very, very helpful. At some point, if trading piques your curiosity, again, get the setup and the closing stuff now down somewhat decently first, not to be exceptional, but to at least be at like a good level. Then I would suggest that if it's something that piques your interest, then maybe you explore it more deeply.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
No worries. All right. Well, we do only have 20 minutes left. So if you guys have more questions, we can go through those, or alternatively, we can do a role play. and get a quick rep in? Semi,
I would like to roleplay, please.
you may, of course.
Thank you.
Bench can be the prospect, Mr. Darth Vader over there. What are we practicing?
I reckon just objection handling, because I feel like my process is a bit hard to roleplay here. So we'll just do objection.
Okay.
Sweet.
Sounds good. So
Yeah.
econ is up, bench. You got the idea.
Easy.
Yep. So bench, the investment to come in to work with myself, James, and the team is just 2,500 Aussie dollars.
Yeah, this is great and all. I mean, we had a discussion for about 40 minutes. Can you like send me all the information or shoot a quote through about this so I can just take a look at? Like just some info in an email?
Yeah, 100%. And just so I know what best to send over, like what are you actually looking for in terms of information?
Well, just everything we talked about today, like just a full report that I can just look over.
Yeah, no, 100%. I can definitely do that. I do want to know in your own words first. Do you actually feel like what we talked about today can get you to your goal of XYZ?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it can.
Nice, man. And why do you actually think so?
You know, like the support is pretty streamlined. Like there's a pretty clear pathway to get there. But as you know, like just sending through information with that pathway of how it works, etc. I just love for that to be sent through to me, and like the quote, etc. Like just everything we've gone over today, we really handy.
Yeah, of course, man. And I can definitely explain everything to you, 100 times over. But we usually have one call because I'm sure you know my calendar is fully booked with all these people trying to onboard. So what we usually do, Bench, is we onboard you on this call itself, and I can give you as much clarity as you need. So I guess when you ask for some extra information, like what are you actually looking for?
Yeah, you know, like I've always like asked people to send me information. This is the first time where I've heard this one call thing. I don't know if it's actually a real policy, but yeah, just like a general overview of how the things work, and like yeah, just a general summary, like mainly price.
Yeah, no, 100%, dude. And that completely makes sense. I guess I'm sure, taking that leap, jumping to something like this, it can be a bit uncomfortable, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if we did, put the money aside for a second, right? Do you actually feel like what we did over here, what we actually spoke about, can help you get to where you want to be?
Yeah, I mean, we just spoke about this like really shortly. Like everything's pretty streamlined, right? Like the coaching program's
Okay.
pretty straightforward and intuitive, right?
Right.
There's like accountability.
Yeah. And just to make sure I can help you best, is it because you have the full investment, you may be just a bit nervous to spend it? You've got part of it, or have you got nothing with it? We have to go rob a bank together.
Oh no, I've got the money. Like I've got the 2,500 just chilling there.
Okay, right. So would it be fair to say that maybe you're just a bit nervous and uncomfortable about spending that? Is that fair to assume?
Yeah, I always have my doubts there, you know? Like there's always doubts involved when you make a decision like this. That's
Yeah,
why I usually go
I
for the
hear you,
info,
dude.
but yeah.
And funny enough, right, when you've coached as many students as I have, you'll notice that those who have that bit of doubt, they're a bit fearful, they actually see the most results because taking that leap, it's really uncomfortable, right?
I mean, yeah. Like I don't really know what the leap is like, but I can imagine it sounds uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I do want to ask you though, like, do people grow outside their comfort zone? Sorry, inside their comfort zone?
No.
Okay. So that feeling right now, it means you're growing, right? Because if you're sitting there as cool as a cucumber, I probably have to check your pulse, right? So that feeling, it's not going to go away. All we get to do is decide on how we use it. Because we have two options here, right? You can either allow it to constrict us and never actually get to our goal of XYZ, or we can befriend it. We can shape it into taking massive action. Because once you put some skin in the game, it has to work. All right. So which one would you rather do, Bench? Let it constrict you, right? Never actually allowing you to get to your goals of XYZ, or let it shape you into taking massive action?
I mean, of course, like always the latter, right? I mean, I've heard this word track before. Some other advisors I've talked to like have told me the same word track before. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, no, man. I mean, I hear it around in the space a lot as well, but what if you do actually allow it to constrict you? What happens then?
I mean, I just stay where I am, right?
Right. And are you 100% happy with where you are right now?
I mean, no, I think being content is never a good thing, right?
Right. So staying where you are right now, are you really gonna allow that to happen?
No.
Okay. So what do we feel like we have to do to make sure that doesn't actually become a reality?
Look, I probably need to like run it through to my partner about the money, to be fair.
Okay. And just so we're on the same table here, would your partner be on board with you learning the skills so then you can actually XYZ for your family and her?
I mean, I'm not really too sure. It's a secret mission, right? That's why I should talk to him in the first place.
Okay, I hear you, man. And I guess just so I can help you best, like what do you think might have stopped her in the past from actually taking the leap into something like this?
I don't know. That's why I need to have the conversation, to be fair. I think like it's probably the money, like, but it's important I do have that chat with her, right?
I mean, you definitely can have that chat with her, and I'm not
I
saying that,
can.
you know, she can't be supportive and lend her an ear, right? Although I do want to ask you, Vansh, like, have you ever heard of that saying, heavy is the head that wears a crown?
Yeah, another advice we talked about that word track before. Yeah, heavy as head that wears a crown. How does it go again?
Yeah, I think it's some Shakespeare thing that I heard, but what it comes down to is, the crown is heavy, not because of the jewel, the gold, or whatever. It's because it's heavy due to the responsibility of actually making the decisions that comes with the crown. So let me ask you this. Who's actually responsible for achieving your goals of XYZ and creating that life for yourself?
I mean, it's me, but my wife's pretty supportive about that. Like, gives me a reason to like have a chat with her if she's like really supportive and on board.
Yeah, no, 100%. And just so I can understand a bit better, like regarding the results that you've had in, you know, your business so far, like was that all you?
Yeah, I mean, it was. So I had the support, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course, man. And I'm not saying that your partner can't be supportive in this sense. Like she can definitely, you know, be there to help you through this challenge. But your wife wasn't really involved with, you know, the blood, the sweat, the tears, right? That's all been you, right?
Yeah, but she was there by my side though, which is like why it's important I should talk to her about this stuff.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. And what does your wife actually do?
She's a nurse.
She's a nurse, right? And I'm sure you're very supportive of her career, right? But with all due respect, your wife wouldn't come to you and ask you how to treat this patient or how to look after this guy, right?
No.
Yeah. So again, with all due respect, because I have a wife too, I know exactly what you're going through. Do you think it would be fair to her and go to her to make this decision on something that she's never actually been involved with and doesn't know the full context? Right. And I'm not saying that, you know, she can't lend an ear and doesn't support us, but in the same regard, she doesn't understand the full context, right? As you mentioned, she's never really been responsible for the results. That's all been on you. But on the other side of this, like when you're actually, you know, making 3 to 5K in 3 months' time, how do you think your wife would feel?
I'm sure she'd feel good, but I'm still not sure. Like, how do you know I can get 3 to 5K a month in the next few months?
Yeah. So she'd definitely be over the moon, but at the end of the day, whose responsibility is it to actually get there?
I'm pretty sure it's mine, right?
Yeah. Okay. And I know that you mentioned that you have some doubts about this will actually work for yourself. And that's completely normal, right? Because at the end of the day, you're never going to have all the certainty in the world, but you still have to take a bit of a leap of faith, right? Because I've lost the pocket. Yeah, because you're going to have to take a leap of faith. And we actually have a guarantee for this, right? If you don't make between 3K within 3 months' time, we'll just refund you in full and give you $100 Uber Eats gift card for sorry for wasting your time. But the thing is, Vanch, we never actually give up on our students, right? What we're doing here, it's a one-to-one mentorship. We come in, we hold your hand for 6 weeks straight, and we're there to answer your questions. So let me ask you this, Vanch. Are you willing to put in 1 to 2 hours every single day towards your goals?
I mean, like, I don't really know if I have the time to get towards the goals. So, like, I work like 11-hour days, as I mentioned before.
Yeah. So if you could put aside 1 to 2 hours, right, towards your goals, so then you can actually get out of that job, would you do it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And are you willing to put up your hand and ask questions whenever you get stuck?
Yeah, of course.
Have you seen the testimonials that we have and the results we've been getting for our students?
Yeah, I've seen them. People get results.
Okay, right. Then give me one reason why it won't work for you, man.
That's probably just self-doubt.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Vanch. I guess the Vanch in, 3 to 6 months' time, who's making 10K a month, he's able to leave the job that's working him to the bone for 11 hours a day. Right, what would he do in this situation? And I'll give you a hint. It's not think about it for another 3 days.
I mean, he'd probably just do it right.
Right. So why act any differently? Why set yourself up for failure?
I don't know. It wouldn't be good, right?
I mean, you tell me.
Nah, it wouldn't be good. So maybe time to do something a bit different then.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do, Vanch, is I'm going to send you through the onboarding link. You handle those details for me, and I'll set up your profile on the back.
All right, wonderful. Let's do it.
Sweet.
Hey,
Oh, you're making me
Very-
sweat, bro.
very good job. And just going back to his roots. That was good. Good stuff. Before I ask Vanch for his feedback, just a last little thing on the end. When it comes to going for like an assumptive close like that, be very careful in the way that you go about it, the words you use, and the language, I would say. It would be more still assumptive. Like you don't want to let them walk away too far, and you want to steer them. You want to put in a bit of leadership, but that leadership can absolutely be done by saying, "Okay, so what do you feel like you need to do so that you can put yourself in the best position to ultimately achieve the results you're looking for? Is it staying where you're at or taking the leap?" So if you want to be more suggestive, that's fine. Whereas opposed to, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link you're going to pay right now, can push some prospects away. So you had him, and it was good leadership in terms of like showing him the way forward. But I would just adjust the language a little bit to be a bit more neutral. That makes sense.
But makes plenty of sense.
And also get him to just basically just say, I want to do it instead of pay me now. But Vanch, what are some things you think he did well? What do you think he can improve?
Nah, he did well with staying in the pocket there. That was like really good. Like I have to give props to him there. Like I was playing like a typical 1.0 Indian, as people like to call him. But I think for feedback wise, what I think of is like if they say the word tracks have been heard, like I would probably just rode along with it, be like, yeah, great. Well, looks like you've heard it before. So how do you think it goes? Get them to like spill the answer themselves. What's like, do you think that saying there still remains true for you, that you need to do the same things that I've mentioned there? Something along those lines, where it's like the fear that constricts you, or you let it constrict you, or you take action, and the heavy set of head that wears a crown. If they say they've heard it before, be like, great. So you know how it goes, right? Instead of going to be any different, or you're just going to stay where you are. So when those situations come up, you just try cost of inaction them. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty good. Like, yeah, I think Connor's feedback was also pretty accurate about it. Just don't be too unfazed when they say shit like that. Be like, yeah, you know how it goes then. Beautiful. I don't have to explain it to you.
To add on top of that, I would just turn it back on them. Kind of like Bench said there as well, but just kind of test them. Okay, so how many times have you actually heard that then? 4 times? So this is your 5th call? Okay. So do I need to say it again, or do we need to reevaluate why you hadn't changed? Because I mean, if there's been 4 or 5 calls you've taken, there must be a problem with you not actually moving, right? Right. So putting it back on them, because that's just like very cheeky that a prospect would say. Yeah, prospects never said that to me before, but that's the way that I would handle it. In the moment, sure, it can be different. Absolutely. We're talking about outside of like an outside perspective of me sitting and watching. But personally, like that's how I'd handle it in the future. So I've heard this before. Okay, how many times have you heard it? 4 times. Right. So this would be the 5th call you've taken now. Right. So the real question wouldn't be this quote from Shakespeare or whatever. Blah, 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 blah. It's just like, okay, why haven't you actually moved then? Why has it taken 4 calls to make a decision? Why do you still have the results that you've had for the past 6 months? It's very much the objection handling. The best way you want to view it is a projection of responsibility from the prospect. So you always just put it back on them. It's always, why are you not going to get me results? Or how, like, what tells me you are going to get me results? Or how confident can you be in this process? It's all outwards projection of their own insecurities and responsibilities. Because we know ultimately at the end of the day, if it actually is a good program and they have a proven process, they have client results, and they've seen that before the call, they know ultimately the person's going to prevent them from getting results is them. So that's where, one of the main, concerns or fears of making a decision comes from is the fact that they don't think they're going to do it. In fact, I talked to a friend who runs the same style of business that I run yesterday for Shisha. He said that he closed a guy from cold traffic who was like super nervous. He did all the tactics. He knew the process was going to help him, got him over the line, and he did nothing. He never even logged in the training program. The reason why is because he was so scared, not of the training program, not of him, not of the results. It was the fact that he knew subconsciously that he wasn't going to do the work. So a lot of the times it does come back down to that. So if they're ever trying to project responsibility, just flip it back at them and just tell them how, or ask them a question to bring back responsibility to them. When you're diffusing, always go for not a problem, not an issue, no worries, right? Always make sure that we're doing that. Good tie down towards the solution. Next thing, are your calls on Zoom or over the phone?
Zoom.
Would be very careful of them seeing your script and the screen in your glasses.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I can see the reflection of the screen in your glasses. So it's like, make sure that they can't see that if you do have that on. He said, what was the main concern once you started to push through things? Like, what was the actual main concern that he had? He said the word particularly.
Doubt.
Price.
Oh shit! I didn't even pick up on that.
So he said price, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vanch, but did you say that? It was more like the things you wanted to see in the email was price, right?
Yes, price.
Right. So price was the actual concern, which you can start to nail things down quickly if you actually heard that and knew that. You went about it the right way. You logistically tied off like money logistics, and that was good. But it would have been much cleaner if you just knew exactly what's going on, because while it was very good that you stayed in the pocket, that was amazing. You can get to the result much quicker if you're actually listening for what the prospect is saying. But I get it. When we're nervous and we're put on the spot and the pressure is on, sometimes that goes out the window. So I understand that. I can't remember. I wrote down, is that fair to assume? Can't remember, to be honest. I'd say a really big thing for you is just more overall certainty. You got it towards the end, but for the majority of that, you sounded like a scared little teenager.
Fair enough.
To put it very bluntly.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Right? That's where, if you're like, objection handling is it's a transmission of certainty, right? You're giving that to somebody. If you sound scared yourself, then they're going to be terrified. They're going to match and mirror that energy completely. You need to really work on trusting your process, being confident, having a backbone in terms of like your foundational confidence. You know where you're going, you know what you're saying, you know what they're going to say. So like really work on that, because again, that certainty is really, really critical key in objection handling. Certainty and leadership, which if you watch this recording of today, towards the end of that, you started to amp it up a bit more. Your words sounded more firm, you sounded more confident. You knew that you're in the last leg, and that if you didn't pull it through, then this basically deal was lost. So you started to speak more firmly. You started to speak like, as we spoke about previously, big boy pants. That's what we're doing there. Act like it, right? They're coming to you for help. So definitely work on that for sure. We went over I've heard this over and over again. Again, great staying in the pocket. That's why I wanted you to not give up and just keep going. A lot of sales are lost just because you run out of things to say. I wouldn't go for a guarantee unless absolutely necessary. It's a tool, so I guess just don't know how to use it. As well as just great leadership at the end. It was good, other than the other point that we talked about.
Appreciate it. That's good feedback. Thank you.
Any questions on top of that?
How would you build that trust in your foundation, your process, and overall confidence? Like, what would you do or drill to be able to do that?
Structure, knowing where to go. Then you can work on not running out of things to say. If you know what to say, you know where to go, money, partner, and then think about it. And then you can start to kind of work on your reframes and not running out of things to say, doing all that, and then also listening for what the actual objection is, doing the stuff and piling on top. The structure is where you're going to get a lot of confidence. I would say personally.
Sweet. Thank you.
No worries. Marvin?
Yeah, just a quick one. For time, right? When he's like saying no time, what do you say about kind of going down the route of, well, do you feel like there's someone in a similar situation like yours that is making it work? And then they're going to be like, yeah. And then just go down the route of, we all have the same 24 hours, right? So it's more about prioritizing. And then they get, yeah. And then you go down the route of like making something happen in spite of, rather than not making it happen because of. Do you think that would be a good way to kind of handle that and kind of put them like responsibility on them, or?
If they just say they don't have the time or it's not the right time.
No, the one with like, oh, I don't know about time. I'm already working 11 hours. Because like,
yeah, sure. So I'd be like, yeah, sure. Okay. So how many hours per week do you have available? Right. This would have been something done earlier in the call, but if we hadn't done that before, it's in objection handling, I would just ask, okay, sure. Like how many hours do you actually have available per day to work on this? So you would say
one.
You have 1 hour per day. Great. Well, most of our clients actually need only 3 to 4 hours a week to actually get this started. So you're pretty sweet.
Okay, so you wouldn't like try to, because isn't it more of also like prioritizing time kind of thing?
A little bit. And you can do that if you want to. You can start dissecting it down. Like, okay, so how many hours you spend working? Like, let's look at your 24. You can really make them feel stupid if you want to. Like, let's look at your 24-hour window. How many hours do you have for sleep? When are you working? When are you commuting? When are you going to the gym? Okay, right. So in reality, we actually really have 3 to 4 hours a day. Like, would you be able to commit that level of commitment, dedication, and focus on a daily, weekly basis to actually make the results that you want to happen? Yeah, sure. Okay. So really, in reality, we have 2 to 3 hours a day, and most of our clients need half of that. So in reality, your time logistics are sorted and you can actually do this. Do you see how that works? And then yeah. It's a very logistical, like logical thing, if that makes sense.
Okay. What if like the math doesn't math? Like, what if they're like they barely have any time? Is it just going to be probably not a good client then?
Yeah, I mean, if they don't have any time, like if they need 5 hours a week to do this, and they don't even have half an hour a day or something, or a half an hour a week or something. Look, I don't think in any circumstance I've ever had someone not have the time when you run them through the priorities. They just think they don't have the time. Everyone has the same 24 hours in the day. So really, if we were to dissect everything hour by hour, they think they don't have time, but in reality they do. So 99.9% of cases, you'll be able to figure that out. If not, they're most likely lying, or they're a mother of like 4 kids and they really genuinely do not have the time. If they don't have the time, then it's not a fit. But like 9 out of 10 cases, it's going to be the fact that it's just not a priority.
Okay, but good to know. So we go way more logical than like challenging their like prioritization of time or anything like that.
I would say so. Yeah. Perfect. Josh, you got a question?
Yeah. So I had a question. Would you just slap like time and partner aside? Because it seemed like it was just fear. So like, would you just brush to the side and just target fear? Because I feel like Sam wasted a bunch of time just going down like the whole partner route when it wasn't even like, it seemed more like a smoke screen.
For sure. I mean, when you say slap, I wouldn't say I just slap the. No, I wouldn't slap them silly. No, I wouldn't slap them senseless. But I would focus on what the real matter of the concern is, which in reality, the real matter of concern is the fact he was just scared of spending the money. So he went down the bottom of that barrel and he discovered that. He turned it around and then he started to throw out, well, I still need to speak to my partner. It's not the partner that's the problem, it's the fear of spending the money. We know that's the reality of the concern. So I just keep diving down on that, pressing on that, and ignore the partner objection, not slap them around. Because people won't take very nicely to being slapped around by projecting the responsibility on their partner.
I think I used the wrong word there. Not
Okay.
necessarily slap. I meant like sort of move to the side, like you said.
100%. Just ignore. Like the same thing is like when someone tells me they need to talk to their partner, to me personally, until I found out that they have a joint bank account, I do not believe a second of that. Like why should you have to involve your partner in this decision? It makes absolutely zero logical sense to me, like at all. So the internet just absolutely shut itself. I don't know why. Perks of Airbnb Wi-Fi's, you know the drill. So yeah, let's start cracking into things. Does anybody have a question or anything that I can help out with before we jump straight into training? Josh?
Yeah, I had a quick one. When it comes to after you set the frame, I'm getting people who are just like they're giving me their spiel very quickly. So I set the frame with that, like you know what I mean by that, right? Yeah, and then they just go into their life story. And I'm kind of just sitting there looking at them.
Right. All you do is just steamroll them and you go, you know what I mean by that, right? Like, right. And then they just start launching and you go, now, I was curious, what was it about the ad or what was it about X, Y, and Z? And you just jump straight into the question. So you let them say, yes, like I register that, I get you, I hear you. And then you just jump straight into the question following thereafter. And you just give them no time to speak or breathe. Like, for example, there's an example with a BizOp sales call in the training portal where this guy was basically just like, well, I've written a bit down about me. Like, do you want me to give you like my life story? And I was like, well, just hang on a second. Really, what I would like to know is what really attracted your attention. So you just steamroll them. You don't give them any time.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's all I had.
No worries. Sammy.
Yo, so in my offer right now, our VSL that they send through, they already know the price when they come in. So I'm practicing like trying to transition out of that now. Because that the leads that I'm gonna have to deal with in the future, they don't know the price. Is that going to be like a big hurdle that I have to go over? Like the fact that they ask me, it's like, oh shit, I didn't know it's going to be that expensive. Is that like a really common thing that happens in BizOp?
No, no,
So
no worries, Ezekiel. No one wants to see that. That's all good. Yeah, no, you shouldn't really have any issue. Look, some people might say it. It's not going to be like a massive thing though. Like some guys might say, oh, I was expecting that to be a whole lot less. So that's fine. No stress.
Yeah. Sweet. And just a follow-up question. With my sales process, like I know we've had this chat a million times about how it's different from a lot of different offers. Because not every offer follows the same like MOR process. Would you say that when I jump onto an offer where everyone's doing like I should learn how to switch back to that and fit in with their sales process? Or do you think that this is like such a good process that I could just stick with it the whole way around? If that makes sense.
Depends on how much they trust you in the beginning. So I say all the time, no one likes to have a sales guy that just goes in with, some experience and then just decides to do things their own way. But there's already a proven process that already works within the company. Sometimes it is really very much worth it just to take the knee and bend the ego and just go, well, these people are doing well. Like, for example, I did an interview with Levi today. He did his first 10K month last month, and he's practicing to be a closer with the top closer for Ecom Capital. Top closer makes like 60K a month consistently. Now, he's like, no offense to you or like Orlando, but like I'm just kind of listening to him for now. I'm like, dude, absolutely. Like you should 100% be listening to him because he's making the money on the account that you're working on. He's a proof of concept. So you can get sales training from other companies and other people, so on and so forth. But what's working is what's working. So try to keep it as close to as you can for that reason. Also, the fact that you don't want to be, again, the sales rep that's ignoring the process that's already working. It doesn't bid you favorable or do you well so much when you're just going into a brand new offer. However, if they do trust you a little bit more, temporarily, you could probably try your own process if you feel it's suitable. But if it doesn't work, then it's pretty much just going back to what's working for them already.
Yeah, that makes plenty of sense.
Because on top of that, the same story that I worked on that 8-figure offer, top guy making 50K US a month, bottom guy 23K US a month. I just had such a big ego that I knew better, that I wanted to do things my way. I wanted to sell my way. But the problem was, even though I had a lot of problems with the sales process they were using, it worked. And they were making good money with it. Because the company knows more about the avatar than you do. And obviously what they're doing is working. So just something to keep in mind in general, that if something's already working, try to steer as close as you can to it.
Yeah, makes plenty of sense. Yeah, I don't want to be that rep who just thinks they know better than the actual process. So yeah, that's a good tip. Thank you.
Race. Bib?
Hey, Connor. How you doing, by the way? You feeling better?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, I'm doing quite a bit better. I've just been talking all day. It's probably why my voice sounds raspy.
Oh, fair enough. And are you in Vienna now?
Yeah, it's a lovely city.
Amazing. I do need to go there. I've got a question. I asked this to Lucas, but I want to ask the same question to you to see if there's any difference in perspective. So I was watching the community networking masterclass yesterday that was run by yourself and Rahul. And in that masterclass, you guys are talking about the outreach method on Instagram to be able to jump onto an offer relatively quickly. And I wanted to ask if, say, for example, you're not necessarily in an absolute rush to just jump into any kind of offer, is that still a route that I should take? Because I feel like it might take away a bit of time that I would otherwise spend on networking on other platforms like Facebook.
Personally, in your case and scenario, if you're not in so much of a rush and you're not kind of just looking to dart through, my suggestion would be that personally, Instagram outreach has never worked for me. But for example, with Rahul, he's a top client. I worked for him when he first started out, and also worked for another client, Matthew Millman, and he did a master. He's also a case study. He did a video on it somewhere which I've lost, and that worked well for him. Personally, it hasn't for me. If you have a bit of patience and you're not looking to try and rush things, personally, what I would do is I would throw on top a combination of shorter term strategies that complement networking that are not necessarily most effective because networking is top. Things that are more short term, like job applications, like recruiters, like job boards, pipelines, things like that. They're not the most fantastic, and they're kind of like a C tier type opportunities that you're going to find there. But at least you'll get a mix of things at the same time. Maybe even you can try Facebook groups as well. They're not fantastic, but at least you're kind of getting your foot in the door. You're having interviews, you're getting a momentum, and you're actually having conversations. That would be my main suggestion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from my experience with like SMMA previously, I thought I've just got such a bad sort of perspective on Instagram because I feel like it attracts the different type of crowd that you might not want to work with professionally with sales. So yeah, man, I would take on your advice and look at those other platforms, and yeah, that should be all right.
Perfect. I would split up your time around 60-40. So 60% networking and then 40% more of your time towards shorter term strategies.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. Any other questions before we jump into training? No. All right. Sweet. Who wants to train today? Sammy, Lorenzo, Josh. Cool. All right. Sammy and Lorenzo, let's get you guys going and then swapping. Sammy, I'd like to see you go first and then Lorenzo afterwards. What do you want to practice?
Objection handling, just because that's something that I can actually get feedback on. For a bit of context, so the way that I've been objection handling recently, it's very much like James's style. He's got like a long rant with a lot of frame. And I feel like because I copy him a lot, I lose my process a little bit. So I'm trying to build back. So if I could just get some feedback on that.
Mm-hmm. Sounds
Cool.
good.
Okay.
Any particular objection you want?
Sorry?
Any particular objection?
Give me
Surprise.
like fear. Think about it.
Sure.
Okay.
Easy, man. So the investment to come in to work with myself, James, and team is just 2,500 Aussie dollars.
Cool. Yeah. You guys showed the price in the VSL, right? So I already knew about the price. It's all good. Yeah. All good, Sam. All good, yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Let's do it. Look, I'm super keen for you. Whenever I talk to business owners just like yourself, they always smash out of the park. And if you've seen a lot of our case studies, like you remind me a lot like them. So what I'll do, Lorenzo, is I've got your email here. I'm going to shoot through the onboarding, get you signed up. All right. And I'll just put the link in the chat here. Handle those details, man. And we're off to the races.
Cool.
Sound like a plan?
Sound like a plan. That's it, man.
Let's
So
do it,
what I'll
man.
do, what I'll do is I'll save this payment link, get it stored, and I'll get the payment done later tonight. Okay? I just want to like congest and digest all the information properly. But yeah, okay? Is that fine?
100%, man. And look, I've given you a lot of information on this call, so I fully understand. I guess what's actually coming up for you to make you want to actually digest everything?
That's just how I've always done things, man. You know, getting to this point in my life, like I need to make sure I'm a very type C sort of person. I like to analyze stuff. I like to really be to know what I'm doing, right? So that's really it. But I'll definitely do it. I'll definitely do it, right? I just need to take a few hours.
Yeah, 100%, dude. I believe you. Like, don't get me wrong there. I guess for yourself, like, just to make sure we can help you out the best, okay? Do you actually feel like, if we put the investment aside for a second, that what we've talked about today is exactly what you're looking for? That we can actually get you to XYZ so you can get out of that job that you hate?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. And I guess for yourself, like, what is it actually about our three-step process that makes you think that it's right for you?
Just really everything. Like I've went through all the testimonials. Like it just works, right? So yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, bro. And for yourself, like, why do you actually want to do this? Why do you actually want someone to guide you through the process and help you actually get out of that?
So I can, finally make a change, quit the job.
Hell yeah. And I'd love to help you get there. I guess for yourself, right? Is it the fact that you have the full investment, maybe just a bit nervous and skeptical, want to put it off for a bit, or you don't have it at all?
I've got the fullest investment. I'm not hesitant or skeptical or anything like that, man. I just like to take my time with stuff, right? So, I don't like I don't like to be quick, if you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, I like to take my time with stuff, and really I'll get back to you, okay?
Hell yeah, man. Look, I have no problems with that at all. Right. Thing is, I speak to a lot of students just like yourself, and naturally, right, I put it this way, right? It's like going to the gym. Everyone says they want to be big, they want to have biceps like Arnold Schwarzenegger, they want to be the most jacked person in the room. But when it comes to actually stepping into the gym and actually signing up for a membership, right, that's when the nerves kind of kick in. That's when a bit of the skepticism and
But I'm not
put on.
nervous, Sam. I'm not nervous by any means. I just like to take like a few hours just to really think this through, man. I'm not nervous. Like it's just how I make my decisions, right?
I hear you, bro. I hear you. And like I said, like, how many people do you think, they step in the gym and they get too scared to sign up before they even get started, right? You got the big clunky guys in the corner. What happens if you drop a dumbbell and you make a fool of yourself? Thing is, Lorenzo, right? In a case like this, I get that you want to digest everything. It's how you make decisions. But would you be open to, making decisions in a different way if it means it can actually help you get to where you want to be?
I mean, of course, that's why I'm here, right? Like that's why I'm going to the gym.
Oh yeah, man. And I guess like just looking at your track record, because you have been putting this off for 2 years now, right? So that idea that you need to digest, you need to think about it and really understand everything before even taking the first step, like what does that actually cost you?
I mean, it's cost me these past 2 years, hasn't it? Of just being in the same situation.
Yeah, man. And if you keep continuing down with that way that you make decisions, like always putting off and, not actually taking the first step when the opportunity actually comes up, where do you think you're gonna be if you continue down with this way of thinking?
I mean, it's only a few hours, man. Like, I mean, if I continue this way of thinking, right? If I keep delaying stuff, like nothing will happen. But like, it's only a few hours. I doubt it's gonna go to that extreme, will it?
I mean, yeah, it's only a few hours. Like, what actually changes between now and then?
Um, just want to be sure, man.
Yeah, I hear you. Because, like, at the end of the day, all we want is that extra bit of certainty, right? So that's a question. Just a bit of certainty. So,
Yeah.
what do you actually want to be sure of, man?
Oh, like if this works. Sorry, I didn't hear your question. If this works, yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you like pineapple pizza?
No.
No. Okay. So, big debate, right? Italians hate it. Some people love it. Australians seem to fucking put pineapple in everything. So, for yourself, before you actually found out whether or not you like pineapple pizza, did you think about it? Did you watch some videos? Did you ask some friends? Did you digest it? Ask your dog, your cat? Or did you actually just jump in and take a bite?
Like I don't like pineapple pizza, but like I
You
took a
don't like
bite.
it.
I gave it a try just to see if I like it or not. But yeah, I
Exactly,
don't like
man.
pineapple pizza.
And it's the same with everything, like a sport, TV show, whatever it is, a skill, business. You never actually know for sure unless you actually just jump in and try it. Look, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, right? We're there to actually guide you through the process. And we have a guarantee, right? If you're not even making sales in 2 months, not 2 years or 2 decades from now, we just give you your money back. So there's no real risk to you. So let me ask you this again. Like, what do you actually want to be sure of?
Um, mm, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I just like the guarantee's cool and everything, but like it's been 2 years. Me like, what if it doesn't work, Sam? Like, what if I'm like that? Like, what was the guarantee again? I don't. Sorry, I don't remember.
In 2 months' time, you don't make a single sale, like we'll just give you your money back, right? Let me ask you this, okay? Because you're here, right? You've put in the work to actually book in this call. We've had this chat for an hour, and everything you've told me, like you're actually ready to go, right? You've got the right mindset. You're super keen. You're committed. You're an actual person who's really switched on. You're gonna do really well. Thing is, the first step is always gonna be the hardest, right? Because what's actually the worst case scenario, right? In 2 months' time, right? Maybe you don't make a sale, we just give you your money back. But best case scenario, you actually make some sales, you actually get out of your current job and you actually make a change. So which way do you want to go down? Do you want to stay where you are and not actually make anything happen, or do you want to actually give it a shot?
Um, I mean, I definitely do want to give it a shot, Sam. I definitely do. But like, I just need a few hours, man. Like, I want to speak to my wife about it, see what she says, see what she thinks.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. And in the past, like for you and your wife, what stopped you from actually moving forward with something like this before?
There's never been a situation like this. I don't really consult with my wife on these sort of stuff.
Because at the end of the day, it comes down to you, right? You're the one who's doing the work. You're the one in the trenches, right? With us rolling up our sleeves and actually getting you to do this and making money online. So look, Lorenzo, this is what we'll do, okay? Because you're never actually going to know until you're actually in there making the sales. You're actually trying. So what I'll do is I'll keep onboarding you, set up everything for you, and all I need you to do is just hand those details for me. Sound like a plan? I can't believe it.
Sure, I guess. Wait, but do I still need to pay now?
Yeah, man. Because at the end of the day, right, we're not putting it off for another 10 years, right? You've already wasted two. That 2 years that you could have actually gotten started, you'd be making so many sales by now, right? So we're not going to put it off for another hour or 2 hours and it's going to turn into 10 decades. Just going to get started.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Super stoked for you.
Forgive him, he's British. This is just
Yeah.
what kind of happens with British people, leave call. Towards the end, just so I get the feedback just off the rip, just before I forget about it. The reason I would say he would have left the call is because it just kind of felt like we are plucking at straws towards the end. And it's like the last kind of desperation clasp of like, this guy's gone. Yeah. Like we're just going to throw anything that we can. Although, while on the flip side, on the contrast, good stamina. Like just that's good practicing. Just keep going and moving forwards. And we'll talk about like how we can improve the structure to it. But yeah, just good stamina overall. When I say red or blue card, I just thought it was funny, Lorenzo, because it's like traditional old salespeople are just like, you want the red one or the blue one? Or Visa, MasterCard. Like, it's just super funny. It's just like it's a very old traditional way of doing things. Yeah, it's just funny. But before we keep going forward with my feedback, what do you think you did well? What do you think you improved, Lorenzo?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So at the beginning, I said like I definitely want to do this. I feel like you could have probed into that word if you listened better. Like, why definitely, man? Why not just throw this to the curb? I said testimonials look great, and which you kind of circled back and you like, tried to ask me what's important about you, but you didn't really ask it to me directly, so I just didn't give you the answer. I'd have probably said like testimonials aside, because that's other people's results. Like, why would this be good for you and for your results and your outcome? when I said I'll get back to you, he said again, same thing, like why get back to me? Why not just throw this to the curve and like most people tend to do anyway, kind of have them sell themselves to you. I kept saying my decision-making process, which you didn't really challenge. It like took you a while to challenge it, and when you did challenge it, I don't feel like you tied it off. That's why I kept giving you the bullshit, because he didn't really slap me around with it to make me come to the conclusion that, oh, I'm not doing the right thing. You like a lot of times he just went on like a massive word track ramble, which like I genuinely like my brain turned off at certain times, and I just, of course, if you have a good discovery, I'm sure they're gonna listen to you. However, like it just doesn't hit. Whereas if you'd be asking the more difficult questions and really reframing them through questions rather than you just saying stuff to them, I feel like there were certain situations when you could have cost of inaction me very hard. And I do think you did try to do that, but you weren't really firm on it. Like a good question you could have asked, I mean, like genuinely, because it has been 2 years. Like, what have you experienced in this past 2 years which makes you want to like, actually make that change now? Like, why? Like, why? He would have like brought up experiences which you could have probed into it. Like, say, so is that way of thinking serving you then to keep like allowing the same decision making process to do? But yeah, and future pace as well. There was a point where you could have like when you done the red or blue car thing. I felt like that would have been a perfect place to either future pace or cost an action me again. However, you just went very generic red or blue, which didn't really have like an emotional connection. I couldn't really connect to it. It was just very broad overall. But overall, I mean, the good stamina. Like I could still see you could close someone. I just played like a really, really hard prospect. You can definitely still close someone like this. It just you're not really getting them an emotional buy-in pocket overall, which would probably make it much easier for you. But that's my feedback.
Yeah, I agree on the reframe ramble. There's like a good kind of label for it, like the reframe ramble. Like it was just a lot of stuff. And Lorenzo's very right. The prospect will get lost during that. They'll lose interest and they'll just stop engaging. They'll just lose focus. Like that's why I say with reframes and analogies you're going to use, you have to be like super clear, super confident, super capable of like articulating, communicating the reframe or the analogy. Because otherwise people are just going to fall asleep. They're not going to understand. They're going to be confused, and you lose momentum of the sale, either in objection handling or in discovery. Like you have to be on top of those and know them really, really, really well, and they have to have some structure and engagement to them. Reframes, analogies, and labels only work, in my opinion, because the prospect believes it's their own idea, not yours. So if you're just verbal diarrhea, word vomiting at them, they're kind of just being hit in the face with a bunch of words. The same thing as like if I was to sell someone and just talk at them, they're not going to really make up their mind or change anything because I'm telling them what to do and how to think, as opposed to the other way around, which is getting them to think the way that I want them to think themselves and come to their own conclusion, i.e., ask more questions and have better structure to reframes. So there's still engagement, and so people are still actively involved, and they're again actively making their own decisions and coming to their own conclusions. In the beginning, good tie down to the solution. I like the conversational versatility in terms of the triple bind that you got towards the solution. And the third question you asked was a little bit different to what I'm used to, but I still liked it and it was pretty good. I wrote down something here, but basically just says nervous. Oh yeah. Honestly, personally, I would not say nervous. I would not say like, oh, like it's probably that of nerves. I just personally, nerves is maybe okay. But again, my general rule of thumb, I could be wrong, but just my general opinion and perspective on this, no one likes to be told that they're nervous. Like everyone's going to get defensive at that. Like everyone's going to get defensive. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like how many times has like you've been hanging out with the boys and they said that you're this and then you're that, and then you're like, no, I'm not. Right? Or you're this, you're a bit timid, you're about it's like, no, not like people get defensive, especially if something like the word nervous. So I typically suggest against using that word, but it's just what I've seen personally. As Lorenzo said, you should have attacked the way he makes decisions, not that he was scared, because he wasn't scared. And you saw that as a prospect, he got quite triggered because of that. He's like, oh, but I'm not scared. I'm not nervous. I have the money.
he just kind of threw you a bit of an alley-oop by specifying that it's just the way I make decisions, right? Which some prospects will give you that line of like that word track that will say, this is just how I've always made decisions, right? Again, there's a great reframe in the training that I learned from a mentor, Matt, which is, this is usually how you make decisions. Yes, it is. Okay. Are you 100% happy with where you're at in regards to X, Y, and Z? Walking them through that work track, you can see just from that reframe alone, the one that I'm referencing, it's much more collaborative, and there's a lot more, there's team play there, and they're more engaged, involved, instead of just saying, well, this is usually how I make decisions, blah, 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 well, and then you start reframing and word vomiting, like, that's a shit way of decision making, blah, 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 here's why you should do that, versus tying them up of, yeah, we all make decisions based off our current perspective, right? Right. And then kind of warping them through that. See you, Ryan. Kind of felt like you were just throwing reframes. Reframe here, just throw it out and try and stick to the problem. Reframe here, throw it out, try and stick to the problem. What you should do, in my eyes, is to become more specified with the efficiency of your objection handling. Create reframes for particular objections that you're going to get, that you know you're already going to get. For example, decision making. Okay, well, there's a reframe that exists for that, or you can create your own. Fear of them not actually doing the work. Create a reframe analogy for that. Fear of, not actually getting the results within your training program. They don't trust you, right? Or they're projecting responsibility. Whatever the objections that are going to come up, have a reframe specified towards that objection, so that it makes sense. For example, the analogy of the desert island, right? Again, I didn't create that. I got that from a mentor. That specifically is for when someone is scared of stepping into the unknown, because it's visually representative of the fact that there is a mountain out there somewhere, there's a desert island. It kind of blends into decision-making process as well as stepping into the unknown. So for someone who's scared stepping into the unknown, that's a perfect analogy. Whereas if you're using that for someone who doesn't know if they're actually going to get the results or not because they don't know if they'll do the work, it's not going to be as effective. So with the reframes you're kind of throwing out there, it didn't feel like there was a specified intentional purpose of the ones you were actually using. It just felt like you were just throwing out the balls you had and just seeing if one landed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it makes plenty of sense. Yeah.
He's like, with his decision-making process, it's like, well, it's not just a few hours, it's actually 2 years. You want a few more hours or the last 2 years? Because that's what we're really talking about. How much money have you lost? How much opportunity have you lost? What happens if you continue doing this? It's not 2 years. It's not, 2 hours. It's 2 years. Blah, 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 blah. Walking through that. I thought your attitude towards the end was very positive, still keeping it high, even though that you were kind of like on the ropes for a bit, which was good. Keeping it positive was good. You didn't get pissed off. Most sales people get pissed off. A good one is, what's more risky? So, great question. What's more risky? Staying the same and doing what you've been doing the last 2 years, or actually taking a bet and taking a leap of faith to see if you can actually change the situation and get to where you want to go? Like, what's more risky? Pretty powerful question. Works really well. Lorenzo said, I do want to give it a shot. Be very much on your toes, as Lorenzo said before, in terms of doubling down on the answers they give you, right? I do want to give it a shot. Why? You don't have to. No one's telling you that you have to jump. Why do you think you should give it a shot? Right? So just constantly press back and forth when you do. And then the last bit of suggestion I would give there is, he just threw out, I need to speak to my wife. At that point, when you have the gauge of what the actual concern is, which was what? The actual concern in my eyes was the fact that he Was it like he didn't think he could get results, or he didn't think he'd do the
Yeah,
work? One of the two.
belief in myself. That was like because
Belief. Yeah.
belief. That was it.
Right. So I need to speak to my wife. He just kind of threw that out there. It doesn't matter. I just ignore it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not a problem. You're more than welcome to do that. And then I would drill straight back onto what the actual concern is. The wife doesn't mean shit right now. Like, doesn't mean shit. He's just throwing that out as like a last resort to start bending you towards the smoke screen. That's all. So, yeah.
And one of the things, and Connor might disagree with me on this, but like I feel like for you, take what you know from discovery, like you're probing, you're asking the questions, you're picking out keywords, and just put it in objection handling, whilst also having the analogies. Because I feel like there were certain things I said, and you went straight into analogy. It was like there was the one part I'm like scared of, like I can't do it. And then you just went, it's completely normal to be uncertain when you could have built on that and really gathered context. And that I think that was the moment I could have opened up to you and you could have like smashed me with my fear objection and I would have closed. But you just went in like a typical objection. I didn't feel heard. Whereas I know if I said that in discovery, you'd have probably probed the living fuck out of that and found everything necessary in regards to it and done something about it. So treat objection handling like a second discovery with some reframes and going for the sale. And I feel like you'll benefit a lot. But I don't know. I don't know if Connor agrees with this way of thinking.
No, I completely agree. It's actually a very, very good suggestion. Most closers, in my opinion, with objection handling, it's a very good point that you brought up, actually. They view objection handling as like a separate thing to a sales call, like a whole entire skill itself. It is sales, like it's your discovery. Like probing, clarifying still applies. All the principles of your discovery still apply in objection handling. It's the same thing. So I agree. Pausing and stopping and reflecting on your stopping and reflecting on like pushing back, challenging why do you feel that way? Why change? Why not later? Why now? Right? And actually having the versatility to do that. A lot of closers, especially new ones as well, they just go, all right, well, I'll just if I understand it's fear, I'm just gonna throw reframes at them until they buy, and then when I run out of reframes, then I'm done. That's pretty much what I see.
Yeah, I think I'm in that bucket, to be honest.
And that will just come with time and just structure in terms of where you're going and understanding what you're doing. And it's a very key transitionary stage, going from understanding a bit of structure to now throwing out just simple reframes that you know and like somewhat understand when you hear a fear objection, to now being very specific with the reframes that you use in accordance to the fear that you're getting or the actual concern. And being able to be conversationally versatile instead of just reframe, oh man, I want to think about it. Reframe, oh man, I want to think about it. Reframe, and then just keep on doing that. Never works.
Sweet. Yeah, everything you said makes perfect sense. I can see how I fall into that bucket because usually like when I watch a lot of like James's videos that he closes people, but he doesn't have a really clear structure. He's just got really good frame and he's really good at speaking. I've just taken all his word tracks and I'm just incorporated it all and just threw it at people. I definitely need to take what I'm good at in discovery and just use it in my objection handling. So no, you're absolutely right.
For sure. And no, of course, the best thing is it's like definitely like a different stage of learning where just as you understand the questions that you're using, right, and you understand why you're asking them, the same thing with reframes, same thing with objection handling. Like you need to understand why you're using the reframe, not just throwing it at a prospect because it'll just have no use case. You'll find more often than not, prospects will just give you the same answer again and again and again and again because the root cause of the issue is not actually addressed. It's kind of just I don't know the word for it. There's just dirt's kind of thrown over the real problem. Like we're not actually getting to the root cause of the issue because we're just thinking reframe, not probing, clarify, and questions to actually understand better.
Yeah, makes plenty of sense. It's like a blanket solution.
Yes, correct. And I will check my statement. It doesn't not work all the time, but only works some of the time. When you've just got a prospect that's kind of just nerves and you just kind of push them through with a bunch of reframes. Whereas what works more of the time and is more efficient is actually use a reframe that's applicable to the prospect's actual concern and root cause of the issue.
Yeah, sweet. Cool. I'm happy
Cool.
with that.
Great. Did everybody else learn something from that? It's quite a lot.
It was really good.
Great.
Appreciate you, boys.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was, I feel like it was
Fantastic.
quite a challenging one as well, so it's good to see exactly how you sort of worked around the frame.
Yeah.
It's a lot of curveballs.
All in time. But yeah, guys, sorry it didn't get the rest of the guys to get a role playing today. There was a bit of questions from Con that ran over a bit over time there. Do you have a quick question, Josh?
Just had a quick one. So when it comes to like reframes and analogies, is that more of like a last effort? Or should you be like really probing in and diving in and trying to understand like what they're saying and what their actual concern is?
Great question. I wouldn't say it's a last effort. It's
Yeah.
more of just a symptom of lack of understanding that most beginner closers use when they learn about reframing objection handling, that they kind of just slap on the cause of the issue to try and overcome an objection. But in reality, objection handling in my eyes is just a brilliant understanding of language. And the reason most people struggle with objection handling is not for the lack of reframes, because you can practice that, you can get good at that, but being able to address what the real issue is, which is the fact that the closer usually and very rarely understands what the root cause of the issue and the problem actually is and what the concern is that the prospect's actually giving. It's usually just a miscommunication issue in a way.
So it's more of a listening thing, trying to understand like
Yes.
what they're saying and what they intend by the words that they use.
1,000%. Yeah. Because what will happen more times than most is, for example, someone will say, I want to think about it. And it's not actually a fear concern, but it's actually they don't have the money. Yet someone just starts throwing out reframes at them, but they just can't afford it. They can't pay in full. They need a payment plan. But now you've just gone and thrown 3 reframes at them. Now they're pissed off because you told them they have a bad mindset, but they're broke or they don't have enough money up front. So that's just like the most classic clear-cut example I can give of just miscommunication issues and not driving down to what the actual cause root of the problem actually is.
Okay, sweet.
Great question. All right, guys, I've got an onboarding call with Henry, so I'm gonna tick off here. But yeah, guys, I will see you in the training calls on Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
Cool. All right. Well, let's dive into the usual. Does anybody have any quick questions before we jump into a quick training and get a quick rep in?
No, but I do want to role play.
Okay. Sounds good. What do you want to role play?
I'm setting the frame in Discovery, just like bare bones NEPQ.
Okay. Cool. So just setting the frame in just earlier stages in Discovery.
Yeah.
Bizop?
Yeah. So at the moment, just to fill my mornings, I'm doing US time zones for a clipping agency.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Who will be my role-playing partner?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in.
Chris can go. Perfect.
Appreciate it, man. Okay. Hey, Chris, can you hear and see me okay?
Yeah.
Nice, man. Welcome to the call. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. How are you?
Yeah, just being the boring clipping guy. You know how it is. Where are you actually calling out from today?
Calling from the UK right now.
Okay, nice. Right. Well, Luca would have sent over some resources. How did you go rolling through those? Wasn't too boring, was it?
Yeah, I only just briefly watched it. I didn't get through the whole video.
Okay. No worries at all. So you know who Luca and Jenna are, you know how drop clipping works, yeah?
Yeah, is that kind of where it's just like I just send you the clips and you just make like short form for me. Is that it?
Yeah, so we'll definitely go over the details of that. And I do know we have a limited amount of time. Do you have the full hour set aside and maybe a pen and paper to take notes with?
Yeah, yeah.
Easy. Now, really, the first part of this call, it's more for us to find out more about your background, as far as what you've done in the past, kind of what you're doing now, and what I would say would be what you're actually looking for, just to see if we can help you in the first place. Because, well, sometimes there are just some certain people that it's not much we can do for. You know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Okay. So, what was it actually about Luca and Jano that specifically attracted your attention?
Yeah, I think I was like I've been making like my own videos for like a while now. And they just take like so long, really. So I
When
jumped
you
on
say like takes a long time, like what do you mean specifically?
um just hate like editing. Like I'm quite busy with work and everything. So I ended up jumping on some of these Facebook groups and like, some Reddit things to have a
Hmm.
look if,
Yeah.
there's anyone that
Yeah.
knows how to edit a bit more
100%.
faster. But I
Yeah.
had something
Oh,
popping.
how long have you been in these groups for?
Probably I've been looking into like the last 6 months or so, I think.
Six
Um,
months. Okay. Right.
yeah.
And just so I can understand you better, like, do you know what you're looking for maybe specifically?
Yeah, so I think like after doing that, I had a
Mm-hmm.
few things pop up on my page,
Mm-hmm.
and then I looked through Luca's what he's doing there, and he's kind of helped people in like a similar
Yeah.
situation. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of just quite interested to see what you guys have to offer.
Yeah. 100%. And earlier, I know you mentioned that you hated editing and it was taking a lot of time. Like, I don't want to assume anything, but like, why is it so important for you to have that time back?
I think for me, it's more like a time as money thing. Like I feel like I can make more money doing
Okay.
something a bit more productive instead of the back end.
Okay. 100%. And where does that really come from? Like, how long have you been thinking that way?
Um, and I think it's just kind of always been in my mind. Like, yeah, like for example, with a lot of the things
Hmm.
I film, it's based
Hmm.
around fitness or something like that. Like I'm trying to build on that. And
Okay.
when I spend so much time editing, like
Yeah.
it almost takes more time than actually filming and doing
Okay.
the setup.
Yeah. When you say like it takes more time, like how much time are we actually talking here?
Probably spending like up to like 3 hours a day or something on it. It's quite long.
3 hours a day. Okay. Right. Wow. And just so we're on the same page, is that what you're doing for a living at the moment?
Um, yeah, so I'm working like a side job so I can still get
Mhm.
the funds because I'm not actually making
Right.
enough money from,
Mm.
the socials and all the brand deals and that sort of thing.
100%. What do you do
Um,
for a side job?
so side job, I just work as like a PT.
Okay, right. Yeah, that whole fitness thing makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been taking out these side gigs for just to keep up with, maybe the cost of living or money being tight?
Uh, I was doing that like originally full time, but I dropped down to
Mhm.
part-time hours so I can focus on,
Mhm.
making more content.
Okay, right. And I'd love to know like why not just double down on the content side of things? Why actually, reach out and try to start an agency?
Um, yeah, I need more money kind of because it's like I can't, go all in
Yeah.
um just because yeah, I just don't have certainty of money.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. When you say like no certainty of money, I know that cost of living is skyrocketing in the UK and everything, but like what does that actually mean for you?
Like I've been wanting to, travel and all of that, but I just like I haven't been able to do that because I'm so focused on trying to make this work.
Yeah. When was the last time you traveled, man?
It's been about like 12 months now, I think.
12 months. Okay. Right. And I guess for yourself, like I know you hate editing and besides the money and the time availability, like do you like what you're doing for a living right now?
Mm, it's a bit draining, I think. Like,
Draining in what way?
just talking to people and that. Like, I get sick of, like dumb clients and that.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest people person either, but like for you specifically, like what do you actually hate about dumb clients?
Mm, I feel like I just have like the same conversations like every day. Like, people not really knowing
Mhm.
common sense in that.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And did you notice this recently or like how long has this kind of been going on for?
Mm, to be fair, it's been there like the whole time. Yeah.
The whole time.
It's just been really getting to me like the last couple of months.
Okay. And I don't want to assume anything, but I guess dealing with these dumb clients and people not knowing common sense for the whole time that you've actually been in this industry, like what kind of impact has that had on you personally?
Yeah, by like the end of every day, like I just feel so drained. Like I don't even have time to really do much like after work. I just want to go home and just sleep.
Makes sense, man. Makes sense. And I know what it was like for myself, but for you, what do you feel like you're missing out on because of that?
I haven't really been able to look after myself that much. Like just basic things like
Look after
knowing,
yourself.
yeah, like just knowing I have work like the next day.
Mm,
Or if I've just finished work, like I don't want to do anything in those 3 hours. I
yeah,
just go home and just veg out on Netflix or something. Like not
yeah,
actually, eating
yeah,
healthy or that sort of thing.
yeah. And I know you're big into fitness, so like, has that had much of a knock-on effect on your fitness and your health?
Yeah, I haven't been able to train like as much as I've wanted to.
Okay, all right. When was the last time you trained?
Like a few days, but just like this the sessions, like they're not really that good. I'm quite,
Mm,
drained in my days going into it.
yeah, okay, I hear you. And let's just do this, like to see if what we're doing would actually work for you. Say you, myself, Jano, Luca sat down and we actually mapped out the perfect program for you. So you can start an agency and actually sign your first client. Like what kind of support and training do you feel like you actually need to get somewhere like there?
Okay,
Mm,
let's stop there.
Mm.
What's the two important questions you skipped before that?
Uh, how long have you been thinking about doing something like this?
No,
Business?
so you pretty much you're focusing around, you got the problem, what's causing
Mm.
it, how long it's been going on, the impact of it. You found all these things.
Mhm.
What typically comes after that? Like once you figure those things, like what's typical question that you might ask using the structure that you're using, the philosophy you're using, like what's
Yeah.
the question that you want to use there? Mm, yeah, almost, Daniel, but like there's an actual specific question that's important to go straight after that.
I'm lost, man.
The do-it-yourself objection question.
Mm,
So what's the main reason why you're looking to pursue this rather than blah 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 blah?
yeah.
And then on top of that, in combination, it's what have they actually tried besides editing, besides this, besides that? Um,
Uh,
so that way that you can uncover like what have they been burned before? Have they been researching for the last 2 weeks or 2 months?
mhm.
Um, have they been burned before? Do they think everything's a scam? Like uncovering those things are really, really important. So there's a gap in terms of what you skip there from what I observed. But
Okay.
I've got lots of good feedback for you.
Yeah.
But before I do, Chris, what are some things you think you did well and what do you think you can improve?
um, like I feel like as the prospect when I was like speaking, like yeah, you're trying to get to the point, but I felt like almost at sometimes like I was like trying to finish like what I had to say. Um,
Mm,
yeah, because it's like you're trying to get to the point, but I felt like almost like, oh fuck, like I'm trying to talk almost. Yeah, so I think that was good. But I think, yeah, like trying to frame it to kind of, exactly see my situation. I feel like there were questions let me describe like how I'm feeling, and I could actually get into things. Because like originally I was even feeling like, oh, like I don't really feel like talking too much about how I'm feeling, but then I feel like with the questions you kind of opened it up a little bit. So I think that was good. But overall, like the tone and um yeah, like just your curiosity, like it made me feel like, oh yeah, like feels like conversational.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Cool. I think you're starting to make movement with the philosophy that you're using. You're starting to progress a bit more, which is good. So I've seen some changes over the last 1 or 2 weeks of more comfortability with the process, more certainty with it. I'd say your strongest things right now is up until problem, pain, roadblock, you had a pretty good structure overall and you knew where you're going. But then once you start to skip those questions in, future pacing, solution, things like that, that's where that kind of dropped off a little bit. So you had a good structure in the start, and then it started to teeter off and fizzle out as you went your way through. Your probing and clarifying questions are really good, and you're really good at keeping things conversationally flexible whilst also probing and clarifying on the important stuff, which was very, very good as well. That's probably one of your strongest points right now. And the same the same things you've learned in James's philosophy carry over here, because that's a principle. Probing and clarifying, you can do that with any sales philosophy. So I can see that's carried over and translated, which is good. What are the main problems we're actually dealing with when working with these people? They want to start a clipping agency. Is it the fact that they take too much time editing, or is it more the fact that they want to quit their job and they want to make more money?
So the ideal client would be the editing takes too much time. It feels like they're working they're trading time for money, takes too long, don't make enough. They want to become a business owner. This is it. And then on the second side of that, it's just like regular biz op. They just want to start a business.
Okay, so if you have two explicitly different avatars, your first current state situation question should be for editing clients. Great. So what's your current way of delivering fulfilling for clients right now? And if it's someone who wants to start a clipping agency and they're working a job, it should be, okay, great. What are you doing for a living? What do you do for work?
Yeah.
You kind of push that to the side for a little bit. If they're more like, yeah, look, I'm working this job right now and there's a bit of an income ceiling, so I'm looking to go full time on my business. I would be first going, okay, great. Like, what do you do for work? What do you do for a living? But if they're explicitly to the first question of what attracted your attention, or what made you take the time out of your day to have this call with me, is yeah, look, I've been running a content agency for the last 6 months, and one of my biggest bottlenecks is that my edits just take way too long, and the feedback, don't get me started with that. Like every time I send them, a clip I send them my edit of 12-minute videos, 6-minute videos, they always give me 100 different points of feedback, which is really frustrating. So I want to figure out how I can shorten down my delivery process whilst making more. Oh, great. Okay. And again, just what's your current process of doing this, blah, 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 blah. That way, the more specific the questions of your structure, the more easier the conversation will flow. So if you know exactly what you're going for specifically, you'll find it turns way, 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 way easier and flows way, way, way easier. That's why when you go through and take a look at one of the biz up calls in the portal, so the top one that's in that list, you see how well that conversation flows. It's because of the specificity to the question of the avatar. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So kind of like understanding the prospects and what they want and then tailoring my system to that. So it's like if they're already a business owner looking to improve a certain aspect, I go down that road. But if it's just pure biz op, like they just want to get out of their jobs, I go down a different route.
Yeah. Do you see how like during that role play you tried to play with two?
Yeah, no, definitely. I felt a bit lost in between. Yeah.
Just pick one, go down that route, and simplify the questions you're asking and be more specific. That way you'll make your discovery way easier. Because if you're trying to pinpoint two different avatars with your discovery, it's gonna be tricky. You're gonna be flip-flopping, which you did. You flip-flop from going for this pain point and then to this pain point and this problem and this problem. Although conversation is versatile and you did it very well, it would be much easier, significantly easier, if you were just targeting one avatar of what the person is.
Yeah. That makes a lot more sense. I think the big reason for that is like there's no sales process in place. I'm kind of just winging it and I create my own sales script and process for it. So
Yeah.
it makes plenty of sense. Yeah. That's
That
good
makes sense.
feedback.
Again, so the specific problems for like already existing editors who've had a business for like the last 6 to 12 months, their explicit feedback from what the business owner has told you and what you've seen on calls is that it takes too long to edit things. Is that the main thing?
Yeah, it takes too long. It's like very grindy. They want to become a middleman instead.
So, okay.
Yeah.
They're pretty much, I'd say the two problems for that are the exact same, but it's just wrapped around with different questions. So the problems with that is scalability, so time, and then the other problem would be profitability, so money. Because if you're looking to step in to be the middleman, it's very much those questions. So it's like, do you like your current way of delivering for clients? Well, no, it takes me a lot of time, blah, 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 blah. What do you mean by that? Such and such and such forth. Okay, great. And so you not being able to fulfill in the timelines and timeframes that you'd like with the effort that you're putting in right now, has that had an impact on your ability to scale the business? Oh, it had. In what way? Well, I'm only able to make so much money because blah, 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 blah. Okay, so more money. Like, why is that so important to you now? Right, okay. And how long have you felt that way for? Okay, cool. So time to make a change, possibly. Well, you can probe and clarify more deeper off those questions there, but it always comes down, like any process that you're selling for, including the philosophy and methodology you're using, which is selling. It is, if you understand the problems of what it is that you're solving, then you can sell anything. The questions change slightly, but it's usually all the same, as long as you understand the problems of what you're solving. So the reason I'm telling you this is because the more you understand the principles behind what you're doing, the more versatile you become. And a really big problem for a lot of beginners that I see in high ticket sales is the reason there's no script in like a sales script inside the RSA training program specifically is because I don't want people to be specifically honed down to one way of selling. Because when you get in an offer, they're not going to give a shit what process you've learned, right? Unless it suits their way of selling. They're just going to tell you to sell the way that they want to sell, and that's fine. They should tell you to do that. But you should understand the principles behind what you're doing so you're versatile. So if you're selling on Ecom Boss, you can go sell on this account, Amazon FBA, or you can sell a dating coaching offer, whatever else, if that makes sense. So that's why when learning sales in general itself, it's much better to prioritize principles over techniques. And I know I'm going a bit of a rant here, but this is important. If I'm selling, could be literally anything, solar, door-to-door, security systems, whatever else. The questions all remain the same. They just change ever so slightly, and there's different variations. And maybe there's a few, one or two added here and there, like B2B, you might add 2 to 3 extra, current situation or current state questions. So everything within the process you're learning right now, that philosophy, is a wrapper just around what is the problems you solve for that particular avatar. That's it. As long as you understand that, you can sell anything.
That makes sense. Just to summarize that a little bit.
Mm.
So, for example, in a sales process, there's different stages like just framing, desire, future, cost of inaction. They all have the same things I'm looking for, but I'm going to ask the question tailored to that specific avatar.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
No worries. Just my final feedback there. Couple things to nail down. Where are you calling out from today?
No.
No need for it, I think. I just don't think it's necessary. I'm pretty sure James probably would have taught you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think it's necessary. Did James ever tell you the thought process behind that question?
Rapport.
Yeah. To personally, from my opinion, and again, it is just that an opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's just fluff. It's just there's no point. Is the person going to buy from you because you asked where they're from? Probably not, right? Do you have the full hour set aside? I know probably James taught you that as well.
That's something I just stole from a random script. Yeah. No?
Again, like I don't really see the point in that. Like they've booked a time in your calendar. Do you have the full hour set aside? Look, maybe it could have some use case if you have quite flaky prospects on an offer where they're continuously just saying they don't have enough time and they have to go early. Maybe it has some use case. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I just think it's fluff. I don't think you really need it, to be honest. And the last thing would be practice that frame more. That's my feedback for that. Just practice it more. Just again and again and again and again and again till it becomes natural. I think we did a role play with Josh on Tuesday, and everything was really good, and there was some great feedback there. But the one thing that the feedback I gave for Josh was that he was trying to be too animated and too expressive, and it naturally didn't feel like it fit like a glove, that was him. And it wasn't just because I know the way that Josh speaks, I know the way that Josh is. It just the way that he was carrying that tonality and that expression and being animated didn't quite fit, and he knew that. The same thing as a reference for how you say the frame. It doesn't feel like it sounds natural. It doesn't feel like it fits the glove, if that makes sense. So just do more practice with it, get more used to saying it, get more used to saying those words, and it'll just flow a lot more naturally.
Yeah, that makes sense. In addition to that, probably a deep question about tonality. Because I know that you mirrored like word for word, like you went into that like almost sales tism way of going.
Yeah.
I've also heard that like being yourself and speaking naturally to your own tonality is like really, really good. Would you say that just copying the tonality word for word would be like a beginner level, and then once I can adopt the same principles behind the tonality, I can use my own version? Would you say that that's something that's like important and the next step?
It's a great question. I think the problem with, for example, someone who's trying to model and emulate reality is they're not good enough at it, and it just doesn't work for their overall face, physiognomy, everything else. right? Just doesn't make sense. For some reason, I think it's either one or two things is why I can pull it off successfully if I want to. Number one, just my overall physiognomy, just the shape of my face, my head. Like I just do think it kind of works. I don't know why, I can't explain that, but that's just one of my part thesis behind why it works for me is because of that. But I would say that that'd be like the 20%, but the 80% is just because I've practiced it so much that it's naturally ingrained in the way that I say those words that it is what it is. Like I'm not trying to model anyone anymore. That is just the way that I say it. That's who I modeled it off, but that is just truly how I say it nowadays. But again, also with the frame, it's not necessarily to do with the like if you don't want to go down to like the super advanced nitty-gritty specifics of certain inflections or downwards inflections, even if you pull all that away, the pauses, the cadence, and the pull away tonality at the end of that frame is super specific, right? Even if you're not trying to pull off that whole tonality and be theatrical and be animated, you can still do because sometimes, well, there are just some certain people there's not much we can really do for them. You know what I mean by that, right? That is just you can pull that off without having to try to be someone else, if that makes sense. So it's a great question. I'm definitely get your perspective from what you're saying. You don't have to be someone else to pull off certain tonalities. Like, for example, would you say that you have to speak like to pull off a consequence question in the right way? Probably not. Because the main tonality behind that question is concern. Let's say, for example, the main word that goes underlying foundation is skepticism, right? And again, what worked best for me is like, why the fuck are we here? Skepticism and why the fuck are we here? Like that mindset is what goes behind that question as to why you can do it so effectively without having to sound like someone else. Same thing as like the do-it-yourself objection question. What's the main reason why you're looking to streamline this process rather than just maybe do it on your own or do it the way you've always been doing it? When I actually say that question full-fledged in a live sales call, the main overarching theme of that is again skepticism, right? When you really look at these questions again, it's less about modeling someone else, but it's more about the principles behind what they're exactly doing. So you don't have to become someone else. You just learn how they're thinking and why they're doing the things they're doing. Because if I just go ahead and copy, for example, without understanding why I'm doing it, that's the problem. It's perfectly the same as just, you got a pen and paper, this call's going to go for an hour. It's like, you got enough time. You just pick that up somewhere from some script, from some training, not really even knowing why we actually use it, right? It could very well mean that you want to make sure the prospect has time allocated, or it could be specifically intended to create more status and authority. Or, why do you say, do you have a pen and paper ready? Is it because you want the prospect to be more focused? Is it for, maybe that salesperson who teaches that has a particular exercise they go through in the sales call? So it's important to understand why. And if all of you on this call can get really good at asking why does it happen? Why do you use that question? Why do you do it in that way? Then you do very well because you can understand the principles behind and the mechanics behind why everything works the way it works.
Yeah, that was really good. Thanks for answering that.
Sweet. No worries. Did everyone else find that helpful? Yeah. Great. Sweet. All right, let's jump straight into training. As always, Q&A is what this is for. So anything that I can do in terms of moving the needle forward, making you guys more money, you just let me know and we'll handle it. And if we run out of questions, we can finish early, but let's not hope it comes to that. So if you've got questions, let's jump straight in, whatever I can help out with. Throw me a bone, somebody.
I've got one.
Okay.
Pre-handling partner. So I know that some people go, yeah, when they hear like the presence of a partner, like, is your partner on board with you learning the skills so then you can get out of XYZ? Yes. I was wondering, is that good to tie off? As in asking, okay, so if we do tick all the boxes today, would you be in the position to move forward, or do you kind of need their position, like their permission as a joke, kind of, but also kind of disqualifying the fact that they need a partner? Would that cause too much sales resistance?
I wouldn't say it would cause too much sales resistance, but I can tell you either way, it might help. I've never benchmarked the statistics off this, but what I found personally in my own experience, um, you can say that and you can get someone and hold them down and their feet to the fire and say, are you the person that's solely in charge of making these decisions? They'll say yes. They can still give you a partner objection at the end of the call. They can just straight up lie to your face. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced that on calls before, where you've tried to lock them down and you've fully asked, are you the decision maker? Can you do this on your own? And at the end, you get a partner objection. Has anybody else experienced that other than Sammy?
It's a
No.
certain demographic specifically.
Okay. I think generally, even it not being a certain demographic, all guys do it. Guys, women, they all do it. Like they will just straight up lie to your face. So I think it's fine. You can do that, but just know that that may do something, or it just may do nothing at all, and they'll just turn around and give you a partner objection at the end of the call. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've spoken to another man on the other side of the phone who's told me that he's the man in the house and he makes all decisions, for him to turn around at the end of the call and go, "Nah, man, I have to talk to my wife about it." Nah, but I have to. Like, it's honestly a tales all the time. People just lie to you.
And just follow up on that, given that he does give me that partner objection at the end, when I was in James's offer, he doesn't believe in logistical partner. I would always have to challenge it. And if I don't, I get called out for it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you reckon that's like a genuine objection, or is it something that you can push past by reframing them and making them take responsibility for their actions?
This is an opinion, and it is just that, just the same as like James's opinion about that. It's just an opinion. It's not a factual thing. There's so many different ways of going about sales. Some are more effective, others aren't. But if I was to just give you my personal preference and way of viewing things, if you imagine a hypothetical scenario where you and your partner have a joint bank account and it has 10K in there, but it's your money and it's her money. And you don't know the split between it, but you equally have a share of that pile of cash. Would you, without your significant other knowing, would you go and invest in a $5,000 program without letting your partner know and using money that is not just yours, but is also theirs as well? Like, would you personally do that on your own terms?
For me, just because I've been like so indoctrinated with that thought process, I would say it's like, oh, well, wouldn't you say that half of that money is technically yours and then get them to spend that half?
That's a valid point. I agree. But it is still, in my eyes, a combination of collected funds. Like, it's not just yours, it's also someone else's. So, to me, a logistical partner objection, they could be lying to you. Absolutely. They could be. Prospects do that all the time. But in my personal opinion, if someone has money tied up with another person Most times, yeah, like it makes sense to have that conversation because like that that could make or break a relationship in my eyes. And I don't want to be irresponsible for breaking up marriages and breaking up relationships. It's not the line of work that I'm in. Um, but yeah, I just think having combination of funds, like it does make sense to talk to a partner about it. Now I have business partner is slightly different depending on the situation. Business partner is different. Whereas with its a significant other, I think it's a very different story. Like I've posted calls on YouTube. I've gone through calls for RSA with you guys in these trainings where I've had a prospect who had 50-50 split business share in a business bank account, and he was spending his half of the money. Different story. So I agree with your perspective there, but you can clarify on that and just make sure that it is their side of the money. You can do that. But personally, if they have money tied up together, it makes no sense. Like it makes no sense. I mean, that again, that could be a poor thing on my part of because I believe in that objection, then how am I going to handle it? But just logically, I don't see any way of fighting that unless the other party is there because it is kind of a joint decision depending on the way they've set up their finances. Depending on the way they've set up the finances. If it's a clean split, if it's 10K and 5K is theirs and 5K is the prospects, then whatever, that's fine. It's their decision. But if it's a blend, it's a much larger blended of a combination of funds, then I think it makes sense to have a conversation, personally.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Okay, thank you.
I think also behind that statement of the reason why James would say that is he's dealing with cold traffic. So most business owners, especially with cold traffic, and this is the raw reality of things, most business owners with cold traffic, they will just do and say anything to get that lead over the line because they want to get their ROAS higher and they want to get a profitable return on their ad spend. So they themselves will bash through and just do whatever they can to get those leads over the line. I've seen this historically with many different business owners I've worked with that do cold traffic, or even guys I've met with today. Like their mindset with advertising is get every single person you can in the door, regardless of their circumstances. That's their thought process. So that's probably why he said that and why he thinks that way is because when you're dealing with cold traffic, you want to squeeze that profitability as much as possible to get your return on investment. If it makes sense.
Yeah.
Whilst I don't completely agree with it, I see their perspective.
Yeah, I think that connected a lot of dots for me, especially in objection handling, because it's gotten me to a point where I just don't believe a single thing anyone says after objection handling. And it's always my job to push through everything and reframe them into doing what's best for them, which is fine. So, yeah.
I think it's a balanced mindset, right? That's actually a fantastic mindset to have because then, a lot of closers I've found personally are too soft. So that's trained actually a great mindset in you. But being able to balance that where you can really actually listen to what the prospect is saying, because that's some feedback I've given you in role plays before, where it's just like you're not hearing what the prospect's actually telling you. It's not necessarily that you shouldn't believe what the prospect is saying. I think that's quite a cynical point of view, although that is a mindset that will carry you to a certain point. But I think being able to have patience with the prospect and really listen and understand what they're trying to tell you and what they're trying to communicate is important. Instead of just jumping to conclusions that they're lying to me and they're trying to deceive me, not always the most positive mindset to go with. But if you just don't tolerate BS, then that's a good mindset to have, but not to the point where everything that they say you view as a lie. I wouldn't view it that way.
Makes sense. No, that's really good. It's like I'm getting to that next step. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
No worries, 100%. Daniel.
I had a call with a certain demographic today, and I got a lot of Trojan horse answers. And at the time in the call, I didn't realize there were Trojan horse answers. Like I was like, oh wow, this call's going really well. It's like it's going my direction. And then at the end of the call, payment link was sent. He's like, oh yes, thank you so much. And I was like, all right, then let's get it sorted, get you on board. Like I start staring at him for a bit. Then suddenly his camera turns off. And I'm like, oh, is his internet not cutting out? And then suddenly I'm the only person left in the call. And then I went back and looked at the recording and watched all his answers, and I was like, oh yeah, definitely a Trojan horse answer. Like, how can you tell and how do you combat that?
So there's a couple observations from that, from the context you've given me. First of all, can you just define to me what your definition of a Trojan horse answer is? I'm not caught up to speed with that.
It's like where they'll give you an answer just to get the ball rolling. It's to like get you saying, like bringing them closer to the close, but they're not actually going to close.
So how do you combat people giving you fluffy answers?
Yeah, basically fake answers, that things that you just want to hear, but they don't actually mean.
It's a good question. I think it's quite more advanced. I think it's, from my perspective, it's usually the way you're asking the questions and what questions you're asking, which actually cause them to be less open and more closed off, and then just decide to give you what you want. So I've seen an example with this recently with a call that I reviewed from Dylan actually. And there was this prospect that was a massive hard ass. Like he was like in his 60s, you know, one of those types of guys who was just like super rude, disrespectful. You know, why are you asking me these questions, so on and so forth. The reason why was because Dylan was doing a really good job at repeating the questions in a different way and going back and asking for the original things. But the key detail that we missed, or that he missed, that I picked up, is that he wasn't actually contextualizing the questions that he was asking. So he was creating resistance, and then the prospect was giving him closed off answers, being met with resistance, or just telling him what he thinks that Dylan wants to hear, right? So from my perspective, and it'll be interesting to look at the call, but I would say that it's the way that you go about asking the questions you're asking, or something that you possibly missed as well, and like the foundation of the discovery process. So, for example, let's say that in a call, a prospect tells you, you know, you're selling a program helping them do drop shipping, for example. And at the start of the call, you ask like, what attracted your attention to book a call with me? Or what made you take the time out of your day to book a call with me? And they say, well, I've been looking at drop shipping for a while. I've tried Amazon FBA, I've done an SMMA, I've tried, TikTok shop, I've tried crypto, I've honestly tried everything. You're not going to talk about that there. You're going to talk about that later when you're in future pacing. But if you ask the question and you ignore the context of what they've given you and you don't contextualize it by saying, before you met me, like, have you been out there looking for different ways that you can make more money and different business models so that you can make that transition out of your job? They're going to say, well, like I said, because earlier on, they've already told you the fact that they've tried this, and this. So, for example, it could be honestly anything in your discovery, but that's what I'd pin it down to for now. Dylan, in that case, an example, would just ask that question without contextualization, whereas a contextualization would be, now I know a moment earlier you mentioned you've tried different business models like Amazon FBA, you've done SMMA, you've done TikTok Shop, you've done quite a few things, you've been around the block. I wanted to ask you, can you expand more on, how you moved through working with those business models? Like, what were the type of results that you got? And then following up, like, did you do any mentorship when it comes to those different business models? How did you go there? why did you not do it? Why did you do mentorship? Why didn't it work out? Those sort of things. The key minor difference is contextualizing the question, and that makes all the difference in the way the prospect's going to answer you.
Yeah.
So
It's something I picked up as well. Like it was like a back of mind thing. Like when they say something already, and then you have to ask this question again, but you already know what they're gonna say. So I used to get like, oh, like I said, and then I realized at some point, like, oh, I got to mention that thing, and then just build off it.
yeah, so yeah, 100%. So contextualize it with what you've already heard, and then build off of the back of the question. On top of that, I would say that probing and clarifying will help you get better at that. So your overall conversational versatility and your flexibility with the way you go about digging, probing, clarifying, expanding. That would be a way to get past the Trojan horse answers where they kind of give you very fluff surface level answers. Because again, if you ask a person enough probing, clarifying questions, it eventually is inevitable that they're going to give you the answer they want, that you want, because that's just how it happens, right? When you keep digging. But if you're just asking, why now, the prospect's going to get triggered and say, well, like I said, or I've already said this to you, or I don't know what you're trying to get, right? These are the same answers that you typically get. So the more confident and comfortable you get in probably like contextualizing is a big thing, but also probing and clarifying, the more you'll be able to get less surface level fluffy answers.
Would you probe and clarify? So I had a situation, this was after price drop. So we were ready to get started. I was just sort of staring at him, and he was like, yeah, can I go think about it? Handled it. And it was like, okay, so I'm moving to Melbourne, this. My wife only has 1 day off. Just a bunch of stuff that was coming out that I didn't know. Just came out randomly after price drop. I sort of fell into it and believed him. But then that's eventually what led to him sort of just disappearing. So he gave me all of that. I tried to offer him, okay, yeah, what we'll do now is we'll get you on board today. And then on the day that you actually do want to start, we'll start the mentorship from there. So you can actually have stuff to look through, have the content to actually run through, because I don't want you missing out on a whole month. I sort of just did that so he didn't run away. So he would actually just go on the spot. And then he was like, oh, yes, thank you. And then that's where it just slowly went into him disappearing.
Usually what I do in most cases with those circumstances is exactly what you did, but just hold them very firmly. Because if they're trying to escape and say, I want to be 100% in, that's just another objection. No one's ever 100% in with something. No one's giving their 100% always with something. It's just that is just an excuse we give ourselves to not actually take action on something. It just is.
Would that be Trojan horse? A Trojan horse, like telling you like I'm 100% in, like yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah, it could be in a way, but also the prospect just psychs themselves out of it. Like they know that they want to do it. They've told you why. They're keen on it. They want to do a solution. But that last little resistance is just it's an excuse. Everyone gives themselves excuses all the time. Same thing with like fitness coaching programs or fitness, right? Yeah, I'm only gonna do it when I'm 100%, right? It's just a matter of priorities. Like, for example, right now, I'm in Vienna, and the only thing that I do when I travel or go places, I always go, I'm always going to get 10K steps. And I've said, because I haven't been back to the gym for a while, I've just been getting 10K steps all the time just to keep my physical exercise up as much as I can. Because health is not, like, bodybuilding is not my biggest priority right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I've said to myself, oh, I can't wait till I'm back in a buy because I can go back to the gym. Because then I can be 100% in. That is just an excuse. It just is. Like I could right now, if I wanted to decide to go to the gym, I could go find a gym locally. I'm here for the next 20 days. I could go get a 2-week pass. I could go figure it out if I really actually wanted to. You know?
Okay, you're calling me out in terms of gym because
Well,
I
I'm
didn't have
calling
my
my
license, and I
yeah,
was like,
well,
oh, you know what? When I get my license back, I'll go back to the gym properly. Like I could have just done stuff at home, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we all make excuses. I make my own excuses, whatever else. Like everyone does it. So, but it really, at the end of the day, if it actually is a priority, it's not, and he wants to do it, it should be no issue to put down a small down payment if he's going to do it anyway. So if he's squirming at a down payment, let's say, for example, the program's 5K and he's not willing to put down one, there's still an underlying concern that we haven't handled. There's
Would you
something.
mask it under as a refundable deposit or a non-refundable? Like
No,
to hold your position or anything like that?
not even refundable, just like straight up a part payment to get you started. Like this is going to contribute to your total payment. And then when you get started, I mean, usually, honestly, it's better to get full payment. But if the person's still showing resistance, like you can go for a partial payment of the total, like 5K, for example.
Okay.
Because I think I've done that before with a program. Like I wasn't ready to get started, but like I wanted to show commitment. So I was like, look, can I just put like, let's say the program was 10K. Can I just put like actually I did that with Inner Circle. I think so because the program was like 18K US, I believe. No, 21K Australian, something like that. And I was on the call with Marco, and I just like, I want to put this on an Amex because I want to get points for it. Is there any way I can do like some type of like partial payment on my actual bank card, and then I'll do the rest in like a couple days? And he's like, yeah, it's perfectly fine. Because again, I want to get started with it. It's just the fact I wanted to get points on my Amex for that purchase, right? So to me, it doesn't make any sense for someone to delay that any further. So if they do, there's an underlying issue and concern behind that if they're still squirming. So the idea is to continue pushing. If they're resisting to $1,000 down payment, that makes zero logical sense in my mind as to why they wouldn't do that. If they're going to do it anyway, they're just going to get started in 30 days, plus they get like a free month or something. You know, makes no sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, one last example as well. A friend of mine is actually doing YouTube coaching, and because of their logistics, they're somewhere else in Europe right now, and they can't actually film the ads they want to logistically with the person that they're working with, right? And what he did is he's like, I know I can't get started now, but can I put down like, because the total payment's like 15K US. Can I just give you like 5K now and then like 10K in like 30 days when I'm back in a place where I can film these ads so we can get started? And then the business owner, who's quite a big guy as well, he's really good at YouTube ads. I'm really well known for it. He just said, how about we do the full payment now and we'll give you a bonus month for free on us while you logistically get some of the other foundations set up for what you want to do with ads. And then we can kick off the start date of the initial 4-month program when you get back and you can start kicking things off logistically. I'm like, yeah, sweet. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think whenever that situation's happened, whether it's for RSA or whatever program I've sold, it's ideally just making like a custom offer on the spot. Like you get started now, you get a bonus month on top of whatever else, blah blah blah, and you can just kick things off when you're ready. It's always a good offer, I think.
Okay.
Great question, Sammy.
This is kind of following on to Daniel's question. Kind of convoluted, kind of half-baked, very deep question, so just bear with me. Contextualizing my questions in, for example, in Daniel's sense, right? When you say, I want you to pay now, like not specific, I want you to pay now, not because it'll change anything, but because you're kind of showing commitment. How do I get that across without sounding it's like, oh, I just want my commissions, right? Or I don't want you to run away. So, for example, the intention that I usually have when I'm objection handling is, okay, I want you to show that you're committed, because if we're going to be coaching you, we want to work with committed people. And if you can't put down a single down payment, then I can't really trust that you're committed. We can't coach you. We can't see success. All right. So the question would be like, do you have that same intention when you're setting frame, when you're objection handling, when you're questioning these prospects, as like something to fall back on, so then they don't just think it's like, oh, he's running a process on me, he's just trying to get money out of me, right? Do you think the same way, or is there a different intention or frame that you actually hold?
That's a great question. I'd agree quite similarly to what you said. Frame of mind. My frame of mind is like, how can you make the best decision for you right now? That would be like the main thing for me. Like, what's the best decision for you right now? And in my mind, for example, in that context, if they've told me why they want to do it, they've told me what happens if they don't change, they've told me their goals, they've told me that our solution is what they're looking for, they've told me why, then it makes absolutely no sense for them to, if they've got like a wedding coming up and they're saying, well, let's get started in 30 days, that makes absolutely zero logical sense to me as to why we would get started then and not now. Like, it's not even a commission thing. It's just a full-on holding someone accountable. Also just incongruence in my mind. Like that's the way I'm thinking. Like that's super incongruent. That makes no sense to me. Like walk me through that. Why would you say that you'd be mentally ready to get started with something that you've told me this. You've told me you want the solution, you told me exactly why. Why would it make sense to start in a month? And I wouldn't ask them that question because they're going to sell you on why that is. So don't ask them that question because then they're going to start selling you why they should wait a month. But that's my thinking. Like it just doesn't make sense to me to how you would make that decision. I don't understand it. So that's my overall frame of thinking when it comes to like that particular concern.
Okay. And then using that same question or concept in future pacing and cost of inaction, the frame of mind that I usually carry is like, I am asking you these questions because I want to know your motivation to help you get the best success out of our program.
Is this
Would you have
discovery?
This is in discovery, yes. Because, for example, like maybe it's like a comfortable crutch that I go onto when I'm trying to justify my questions. But it's like, for example, when I'm diving really deep into them imagining the perfect future pace life or heaven island, right? In my head, I'm like, they're going to be sus as to why I'm asking this, because in my head, I know I'm painting out the picture. So then they actually do what it takes to get to that point, which is paying for the program. Whereas I want to frame it as, I want to know what causes you to strive for success, so then you can actually get there. Right? Is that the right frame of mind?
That's the right frame of mind. Yes. I would never verbalize that unless they actually asked you. Just keep that the mindset that you have, because I agree with that mindset, that way of thinking. But ultimately, I would say another mindset to pair with that in combination is the whole sales process itself. No worries, Tom. Thanks for joining. The whole sales process within itself is literally designed to get someone to step out of their own way and change. But that's what sales is. And what our job is to pair up the prospect with the right solution, absolutely, and find out the motivations and goals behind why they're doing this, and ensure that the clearer picture they have, the more they'll actually implement in the training program. That's absolutely the mindset I have as well. However, it also should be, I am trying to help you. Like that's the mindset you should have. I'm trying to help you change, trying to help you get out of your own way. And I heard a quote recently that I really like, which is that with sales, it's like a tube of toothpaste, right? Once the words are said by the prospect, you can't get them back in. And our job ultimately is to pull that out of a prospect to help them change and guide them towards the best decision for themselves on their own terms. Like that's the goal of what we're trying to do. My mindset is that like ultimately a best decision on their terms and make them realize things that they perhaps didn't see before, which has prevented them from changing and actually going and pursuing what they actually want in regards to X, Y, and Z. And then the same mindset can be applied to absolutely anything you can sell. Sales training, right? If someone's been closing at 20% as a salesperson, they make 3K a month and 4K a month, they've been making that for 10, 15 years. Like, that's a huge thing. And my job is to make them aware, if I'm selling sales training, of how much that is impacting their life and that they need to actually change and do better with what they're doing. Whether or not it's like dating coaching. There's a guy who's been single for 10 years and is coping that blah 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 blah, and he's always saying it's not that bad, blah 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 blah. Well, it actually is because it impacts this area and this area and this area and this area. Like his overall total mental health and his quality of life is dramatically affected by that lack of decision-making skill or a bad decision-making process. If it's a business, right? Let's say that they've been aware of a solution for the last 6 months, right? Maybe a year, 2 years, but they just haven't taken action on what it is they want. Like my job is to make them aware of the problem that exists and help them guide to a decision that ultimately benefits them and them alone. Because the longer they're not aware of a solution, the longer they're not actually implementing a solution, and they're just stuck in this same way of thinking, their business is going to stay stuck for however long. And I'll finish on this point. The first sales call I ever took, I remember her name. She was an accountant. Her name was Kirsty. She had a small business in Australia, and I was selling business coaching. Because I wasn't good at closing, because it was my first sales call, I wasn't very good at sales. I know for a fact that she needed what we had at a solution for a business. She just did. She'd been trying to generate more leads. She'd been trying to grow. She'd been trying to build a team. She was barely scraping by with like 5K a month, not super profitable. My sales ability wasn't the point where I got her to understand that her lack of knowledge and her poor decision making has led her to where she is now. And so she may have stayed stuck for 1, 2, 3 years after the call, or maybe forever. Right? That's my general mindset with sales, objection handling, everything else. Is that I want to help that person really understand a clearer picture of why they haven't moved and the importance of actually changing, and that the decision-making process may or may not be flawed and what they need to do about it. That's my thought process around sales in general.
And you would never verbalize that though. That's just something you have in the back of your mind. Okay.
That's the very foundation behind every question that I ask, every call that I take. That's what I'm thinking. How can we get you to realize and understand the detail, the depth of the situation in regards to problem you're trying to solve? And how can I guide you towards making the best decision for you? That's how can I help? How can I serve? Like that's what I'm thinking for every sales call.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's no, I appreciate that because it's something that I've only said out loud for the first time. Like I've had thoughts about it when I'm like deep into discovery and they're like pushing back. I need to justify why am I doing this? Why am I pushing them to that level to get that answer? And then back in my head, it's like, oh, I'm doing this because I need to frame it as if I onboard you, I want you to get the best results possible. So therefore, I'm going really, really deep and getting what I need to get. All right. And then pull them across the process. But yeah. Okay.
Correct. And the final example I'll give you with that is fitness. Like we're talking about a life or death situation for a lot of people. You know, if the person's severely overweight and I don't get good at the ability of challenging them and raising their standard, being a good leader by asking very skilled and well thought out questions that get them to realize the bigger picture of the implications of their lack of change and moving in the right direction, they could be moving on their way to an earlier grave in fitness, right? Without my help. That's the way that I believe most salespeople should be going about their process. Fitness is a life or death situation. That's the way you should be treating it. You do the best you can do with what you have, but it should be something that should be taken pretty seriously because, you know, the more weight that someone puts on or the lack of quality of life they have doesn't just affect them, it affects so many people in their life as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks for answering that convoluted question.
No worries. Great question. Who else has more questions for me? No worries, Jay. Anything else? Are we done for today?